Chapter 2490. I don't care, my goal is to beat you up. Pin Liang didn't care how Coiling Tiger explained. His goal was to beat Coiling Tiger up and get credit from Yushu. He didn't care if Coiling Tiger's words were true or not. I'm the second young master of the Hidden House Yu. You'll be in trouble if you beat me up. Coiling Tiger had no choice but to bring out the House Yu's name, hoping that Pin Liang would be scared and stop. What hidden house, Yu? It's just a small hidden house, it's nothing. I'm the disciple of the everyday and everyday sex master, Pure Yang Sky Master. With that, Pin Liang raised his steel rod and swung it at Tiger. Right, Coiling Tiger froze. Everyday and everyday sect? Why did their disciple come to Donghai Industry University? What was going on? But before he could figure it out, he was hit by Pin Liang's iron rod. He wasn't even as good as Purple Hair and Yellow Hair. He was a pure elixir refiner with no attack or defense skills, and he had no experience at all. Cries of pain rang through the hallway, and it wasn't long before Coiling Tiger's eyes rolled back as he laid on the ground, accompanied by Yellow Hair and Purple Hair. Liang bro, you're amazing. At this moment, Gao Xiaofu appeared out of nowhere and said proudly, "These people are a piece of cake for Brother Liang." That's right. Don't you know who gave me this treasure? Pin Liang left the biology building with Xiaofu and went to find Meng Yao and Yushu. Meng Yao and Yushu didn't think that Pin Liang would come back so fast, coming back in the blink of an eye. Liang Yi, you took care of that Coiling Tiger? Yushu felt that things weren't looking good. It seemed like Pin Liang was many times stronger than before. Of course, look at who did it. Pin Liang smiled. That kid and his two underlings were no match for me. They're just trash. How about it? Do I have the right to be Yao Yao's personal bodyguard now? Yushu hesitated. No, these people are small fries. Shield Bro can take care of them in a matter of minutes. If you want to be Sister Yao Yao's personal expert, you still need to work hard. I see. Pin Liang was a little disappointed, but it made sense. Lin Yi was already in Earth class. Beating up Mystic and Golden class practitioners would be a piece of cake for him. He just proved that he could fight as well. But he didn't show Meng Yao and Yushu just how strong he was, and that was the problem. Yeah, so you still need to prove your strength. Yushu said, Then what's my next mission? Pin Liang asked. About that? Let me think about it. I don't want to make it hard for you. Yushu said, How about this, Liang Yi, you go back and wait for my news. All right. Sister Yao Yao said she wants to eat the spicy skewers from the food street in Songshan City. Go buy some. Oh, that works too. Zhong Pin Liang nodded. Then he said, Isn't it just spicy skewers? I'll go buy them now. With that, Pin Liang left with Xiaofu. Meng Yao, on the other hand, was a little troubled. Yushu might have sent Pin Liang away for now, but he'd come back sooner or later to bother them, especially now that he'd become so powerful. It'd be even harder to get rid of him now. Shoo, Pin Liang's so strong, what should we do? Should we tell Lin Yi? Meng Yao thought about it. Yushu said, Yeah, we have to tell Shield Bro, but first we need to figure out why Pin Liang's so strong. Yushu said, Only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win every battle. Then how do we investigate him? Meng Yao asked. I'm going to talk to Han Jingjing. Doesn't she like to play with high-tech stuff? Let's see if she has a listening device or something. We'll put one on Pin Liang and we'll be able to eavesdrop on his secrets. Yushu said, Sounds good. Meng Yao nodded. And so, while Pin Liang went to buy the spicy skewers, Yushu went to find Han Jingjing. Han Jingjing didn't have such a thing, but she knew where to buy it. But they knew where to buy it. Meng Yao drove the whole afternoon, bringing Han Jingjing and Shu to buy a listening device. When they came back, Zhong Pin Liang had just come back as well. Meng Yao thought to herself that it was a close shave. Pin Liang might suspect something if he saw that they weren't in school. In fact, it was all because of Meng Yao's guilty conscience. Pin Liang wouldn't think much of it, even if she wasn't in school. Shu, on the other hand, walked up to Pin Liang with the listening device in her hand and took the piping hot spicy skewers from him with a smile. Liang-yi, thank you. Haha, you're welcome. It's what I should do. Pin Liang said, I'll just treat it as a preview of what to do when I become Yao Yao's personal bodyguard. And not bad. It's still warm. Yushu patted Pin Liang's shoulder and stuck the listening device on his back. The listening device was very small, and it looked like a button on Pin Liang's back. If one didn't look closely, they wouldn't be able to see it. Yao asked me to encourage you. Keep it up. Xiao Liangzi, Sister Yao likes brave people. I know. Pin Liang thought that it was Meng Yao's idea when Yushu patted him on the shoulder. He was very excited. Yushu had been toying with him a lot in the past, but she had never patted him on the shoulder like this. This kind of change was enough to show the change in Meng Yao's heart. If Meng Yao still hated him that much, she wouldn't have told Yushu to pat his shoulder to encourage him. From what Pin Liang could see, Yushu had always been looking down on him. She had never been this kind before. And it's good that you know. Yushu nodded. There are some things that Yao is too embarrassed to say. I'll pass it on for her. Do you want to hear it? Yes, of course I want to hear it. Pin Liang replied quickly. All right, since you want to hear it, I'll tell you. Right now, we've only seen a part of what you're capable of. To be precise, we don't know much about you yet. How about this? Try your best to challenge some masters and make a name for yourself. That's the only way you can become Yao Yao's personal bodyguard, Yushu said. Chapter 2491. It was so nice to watch without ads. Look at Shield Bro, he's famous now. Jiang Wen and Zhao Qibing are both scared to death when they hear his name. So he doesn't even need to do anything when there's a lot of trouble. He just needs to stand out and tell them his name, and they'll be scared to death. But you can't do that yet. I see. Pin Liang nodded. Yushu was right, it was the truth. Lin Yi's name was like a tree's shadow, and Lin Yi's name was definitely famous. Even the practitioners who participated in the Ice Palace's trial would be scared when they heard Lin Yi's name. Of course, this was what Zhang Naipeo told him. Zhang Naipeo's setback forced him to take Lin Yi seriously. He needed to train hard and defeat Lin Yi the next time they met. Jiang Wen, Zhao Qibing. These two names made Pin Liang feel a little guilty. He was very strong now, but Jiang Wen and Zhao Qibing weren't pushovers either. Their individual strength wasn't good enough, but they had gangs and families backing them up. The Firewolves had many masters, and the Hidden House, Zhao, had a sky class as well. Pin Liang didn't dare to go after them, but he wanted to prove how strong he was, so he had to think of a way. All right, I'll go back and think about how I can prove my bravery. I'll be heading back first. Shu, please put in a good word for me in front of Yao Yao. Pin Liang said, No problem. Yushu nodded and waved her hand to send Pin Liang off. When he was far away, Yushu put an earphone in her ear. Can we really find out what they're after? Meng Yao sighed. She couldn't figure out why Pin Liang had become so strong. It should be possible. They're discussing how to prove Pin Liang's strength right now. Yushu said, Indeed, Pin Liang and Xiaofu were discussing how to prove their strength. Liang bro, why don't you go beat up Zhao Qibing and Jiang Wen again? Xiaofu said, Isn't that the simplest way? Idiot. Jiang Wen kicked Xiaofu's foot. Why are you still so retarded? So impulsive? Can't you learn from me and think before you act? Qibing and Jiang Wen aren't that easy to beat up. That Zhao Qibing, no matter how strong he is, he can't be above sky class, can he? At most, he's an earth class master. What's there to be afraid of? Gao Xiaofu said. As for that in Jiang Wen, he was more like an ordinary person, right? Brother Liang has the golden cicada undergarment. As long as the opponent is not a heaven stage expert, Brother Liang can definitely win, right? You idiot! Behind Zhao Qibing is the Hidden House Zhao. They have a sky class master. Of course. I'll beat him up and reveal my identity as a disciple of the everyday and everyday sect. The hidden Zhao family definitely won't dare to do anything to me. The most important thing was Jiang Wen. Although he is an ordinary person, do you know that the Fire Wolf Gang is filled with experts? They're not weaker than the everyday and everyday sect? Pin Liang glared at Xiaofu. You think I don't want to touch Jiang Wen? One of my kidneys was cut off by him. If possible, I'd send him to heaven first. But no, they're not afraid of us. Then we'll start with Zhao Qibing. Xiaofu said. That's the only way. Pin Liang nodded. Let's beat up that Zhao Qibing first. We'll think of something else. All right, we'll go find Zhao Qibing later. Xiaofu nodded. Later my ass. Are you stupid? Beating up Zhao Qibing at house Zhao is suicide. Pin Liang raged. Either we hide our identity and get beaten up by that sky-class master, old Zhao, or we reveal our identity. But we definitely won't be able to fight. Then what do we do? Xiaofu asked carefully. He realized that his IQ wasn't enough anymore. It seemed like Liang Bro really wasn't the Liang Bro he used to be. He was much more intelligent now. In fact, a person would definitely grow after going through big ups and downs. It was just that Pin Liang's comprehension was stronger. Let's go find Right Coiling Tiger. That guy definitely knows Zhao Qibing. Let him make a call. Ask Zhao Qibing out, he knows who we are. He wouldn't dare disobey us, Pin Liang said. Ah, that works. Xiaofu thought about it and realized that Liang Bro was smart. And so, the two went back to find Right Coiling Tiger. Right Coiling Tiger had just woken up, and although he didn't need to go to the hospital after taking the elixir, he was still heavily injured and could only rest in his seat. The three of them were very depressed. They didn't even know Meng Yao and Yushu, and they were beaten up for no reason. This guy was a disciple of the everyday and everyday sect too. It was impossible for them to take revenge. Even the people from the Sky Elixir sect had to avoid the people from the everyday and everyday sect. There was no other reason other than that these people were too evil, just like that Pin Liang from before. He didn't seem to have much attack power, and his combat ability was very low, but he was very resistant. There was also a clear difference between him and the disciples of the Golden Bell sect. He didn't have any strength at all, unlike the physical practitioners. That wasn't all. The iron rod in his hand was even weirder. The seemingly ordinary iron rod was able to pierce through the chi protection. It was a little strange. How unlucky. I thought that Lin Yi would be gone for a few days, and then this Xiong Pin Liang came out of nowhere. F***CK. Right Coiling Tiger was furious. Right, Master, did this guy hit the wrong person? We didn't bully Meng Yao at all, but you got smashed in the head by that big tits girl next to Meng Yao. This is too unfair. Yellow Hair said angrily. What can we do about it? Right Coiling Tiger said helplessly. We can't just take revenge, can we? Let's not talk about whether we can beat him or not. Even if we can, do you think his background is weak? He's from the everyday and everyday sect. Luckily, he didn't want our lives, so we'll let this pass. We'll be more careful in the future and don't mess with him. We'll treat him the same way we treated Lin Yi, Purple Hair suggested after some thought. Yes, I think that'll work. Right Coiling Tiger nodded and agreed. Right Coiling Tiger, are you dead or not? If you're not, come out. Pin Liang's voice came from the classroom door again. Oh my God, why is he back again? Right Coiling Tiger was shocked when he heard the voice, almost crying. To be continued. For the latest chapters, please log in. Reading is a pleasure. I recommend you bookmark it. For more full-text novels, download. Chapter 2492. However, Pin Liang brought Xiaofu into the classroom as he spoke, still holding his steel rod in his hand. You Coiling Tiger hurriedly lay on the table and pretended to be dead. Previously, he had wasted a small rejuvenation pill to heal his injuries. If he were to be beaten again, not only would he be in pain, but he would also lose his small rejuvenation pill. He couldn't possibly carry a bunch of small rejuvenation pills with him every day, right? Hey, don't play dead. Pin Liang smashed the steel rod on the corner of Yu Coiling Tiger's table. I'm dead. Yu Coiling Tiger said, Motherfucker, you're lying to me, right? You think I'm easy to bully? If it was Lin Yi, would you dare lie to me like that? Pin Liang raged. Fine, I'm alive again. Yu Coiling Tiger jumped and sat up, his face bitter. Liang bro, why are you here again? Didn't you teach us a lesson? We know we won't mess with Meng Yao anymore, okay? That's not it. Pin Liang waved his hand. Do you know Zhao Qibing? Zhao Qibing? I do. Why are you asking about him? Yu Coiling Tiger paused. Good, Pin Liang said. Call him now and ask him out. I don't care what reason you have. I want to see him before school ends today. Ah, ask him out. Liang bro. Yu Coiling Tiger let out a breath of relief when he heard that Pin Liang wasn't here to beat him up, but at the same time he was confused. Why was he looking for Zhao Qibing? Oh, I'm going to beat him up, but don't tell him. If he runs away, I'll have to beat you up, Pin Liang said. I see, that's easy. Yu Coiling Tiger nodded, thinking that it was fine as long as it had nothing to do with him. As for Zhao Qibing, he didn't care if he lived or died. The relationship between the hidden house Zhao and the hidden house Yu wasn't that good anyways. Yu Coiling Tiger sold Zhao Qibing out. All right, call me when he's here. Here's my number. Pin Liang was very happy to see Right Pan Hu's cooperation. He left his number and left with Xiaofu. Got it, Liang bro. Pan Hu wrote down Pin Liang's number, wondering if this guy was Lin Yi's enemy. If it was Lin Yi's enemy, then he could sit on the mountain and reap the spoils. But it seemed that this guy's goal was similar to Lin Yi's. Lin Yi's enemy was Pin Liang's enemy. Yu Pan Hu gave Zhao Qibing call. The reason was simple. There was someone in school who wanted to see him, and it was someone who was very likely to come. Zhao Qibing was fighting for the position of the young head of the hidden house Zhao, and when he heard that Pan Hu Right had a very powerful friend who wanted to see him, he happily drove to Donghai Industry University. Pan Hu Right, on the other hand, called Pin Liang and told him to wait for Zhao Qibing at the parking lot in front of the school. Not long after, Zhao Qibing drove his new Porsche Cayenne to Donghai Industry University. He parked the car in the parking lot and was about to call Tiger Right when someone knocked on the car door. What? Zhao Qibing rolled down the window and asked Pin Liang angrily, Who the hell are you? Fuck, Zhao Qibing, don't you recognize me? Pin Liang smashed his rod down on the front of Zhao Qibing's car, forming a dent. You're Zhong Pin Liang? Zhao Qibing looked at Zhong Pin Liang and froze. He recognized him. Zhong Fabai used to be Zhao Qibing's underling. How could Zhao Qibing not recognize Pin Liang? But he didn't understand why Pin Liang would call himself your father in front of him. Did this kid want to die? Very well, you still recognize me. Pin Liang reached out and grabbed Zhao Qibing's collar. Get out of the car. Fuck, you used to order me and my dad around like dogs, offending Lini, and I almost died. You, on the other hand, just left like that. Are you crazy? How dare you insult me? Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am now? Zhao Qibing raged. How could he tolerate his underling ordering him around? He pushed the door open and got out of the car. I do. Aren't you Zhao Qibing from the hidden house, Zhao? You're the one I'm hitting. Pin Liang's rod smashed into Qibing's head, making him lose his bearings. You dare hit me. Zhao Qibing was shocked and angry, but Pin Liang's rod came smashing at him again. Zhao Qibing didn't dare to be careless. He quickly channeled his practitioner's arts and used his pure qi to protect his body. Then he kicked at Pin Liang, but Pin Liang didn't dodge or dodge. He let Zhao Qibing kick him, but the rod in his hand kept smashing into Zhao Qibing's body. Zhao Qibing kicked Pin Liang twice before realizing that his pure qi protection was useless. Pin Liang's rod was still coming at him, and he was still hurting. Was the pure qi protection useless? Or did Pinliang have the ability to break through it? Zhao Qibing was shocked at the thought. He quickly used his hands to protect his head so that he wouldn't bleed. Then he kicked at Pinliang with both legs. Fuck, your legs are pretty strong, aren't they? I'll let you kick me. Pinliang saw that Zhao Qibing used his hands to protect his head and swung his rod, hitting Zhao Qibing's right leg. Ouch. Zhao Qibing cried out in pain. His leg was his weakest part, and although Pinliang's rod didn't break it, it was still painful enough to make him grimace. I'll let you kick me. 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 Pinliang said as he swung the steel rod at Qibing's legs. In an instant, Qibing's good leg was crippled, and he fell to the ground on his, but Pinliang didn't seem to be satisfied yet. He swung the rod at Zhao Qibing's other leg, and with a series of smashes, Zhao Qibing's left leg was broken as well. The tragic Zhao Qibing could only lie on the ground and twitch. Zhong Pinliang, I'll remember you. The hidden house, Zhao won't let you go. Zhao Qibing didn't know how Pinliang became so strong, but he couldn't help but threaten him. Oh, whatever. I'm not afraid to tell you that I'm the head of the everyday and everyday sect, Pure Yang Sky Master. If you want to go against the everyday and everyday sect, go ahead. I don't mind letting my master kill you all. Pinliang said calmly. Wah. Zhao Qibing was dumbfounded by Pinliang's words. Chapter 2493. It was so cool to watch without ads. He had never expected Pinliang to be from the ancient sect, the everyday and everyday sect. No wonder he was so strong he had a master. Not to mention the ancient sects. Just Linny alone was enough to render the hidden house Zhao helpless. The hidden house Zhao definitely didn't dare to provoke the ancient sects. So Zhao Qibing stopped moving. It seemed like he had broken his leg for nothing again. I say, Zhao Qibing, do you still want revenge? Pinliang was overjoyed when he saw Zhao Qibing's dispirited expression the moment he heard the name of the everyday and everyday sect. The sect's name was indeed resounding. Pinliang, even if you want me to die, you should at least know the reason. Although you used to be my underling, I treated you well, didn't I? Why did you hate me like this? Qibing didn't think about revenge anymore. He just wanted to know what was going on. It's nothing, actually. My goddess told me to hit you. You didn't mess with me, but you messed with my goddess. Pinliang said, Your goddess? Who is it? Qibing paused before remembering Pinliang's crush. Chu Mengyao. That's right, Chu Mengyao. Pinliang nodded. You're in cahoots with Lin Yi? Qibing jumped in fright at Pinliang's admission. Of course not. I'm trying to steal his position, Pinliang said. Right, let me ask you, what's Lin Yi's strength now? Strength? Earth class mid-phase or peak mid-phase. Qibing said, why are you asking? You can beat Lin Yi? Earth class, huh? That's not a problem. I'll get him. Pinliang nodded in relief. All right, Zhao Qibing, I'm done with you. You can leave now. Since you used to be my boss, I won't knock you out. I'll let you leave awake. Pinliang nodded after hearing that. Qibing was about to say that he was looking for someone when he thought of something. You didn't ask Yupan who to call me, did you? That's me. Zhong Pinliang nodded. What the F asterisk CK? Right coiling tiger is too much. How dare he trick me? Qibing was pissed. Oh, I beat him up too. Pinliang said nonchalantly. He's worse off than you, he's unconscious. I see. Qibing felt much better after hearing that. He took out his phone and called the hidden house Xiao, asking them to pick him up. I'm going. It's time for me to report to my goddess. Pinliang said as he walked towards the economics building with Xiaofu in tow, his staff in hand. Yushu, on the other hand, had heard everything clearly and told Mengyao everything that had happened. You're saying that Zhong Pinliang joined the everyday and everyday sect and became their leader? Mengyao was shocked. And he got his hands on the golden cicada underwear as well? Is it because of this underwear that he can take a beating? That should be the case. Yushu nodded. That underwear, didn't Lin Yi give us one too? Meng Yao remembered the low-class golden cicada underwear that Lin Yi won at the Hidden House Summit. But ours isn't as high-class as Zhong Pingliang's. Yeah, the underwear that Shield Bro won can only defend against Earth class and below. It's useless against Earth class and above. Yushu nodded. Lin Yi had wanted to wash the underwear and give it to Meng Yao or Yushu for protection. But Qintian could take care of anyone below Earth class, so the golden cicada underwear was useless. He'd left it at home and never used it, so that's how Zhong Pingliang got so strong. He's just a cockroach that can't be killed. He doesn't have any real skills. Meng Yao said, but that iron rod of his seems to be a little mysterious. Masters like Zhao Qibing and Right Coiling Tiger have chi protection, but Zhong Pingliang can still fight. Yeah, this guy has quite a lot of treasures on him. Yushu's eyes rolled around as she started thinking about Pingliang's treasures. Shu, you're not thinking about taking his stuff for yourself, are you? Meng Yao knew Shu's expression all too well. One look and you could tell that she was after Pingliang's stuff. Ha 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 ha. Yushu laughed evilly. This is good stuff. So what if it's good stuff? You can't just take it from Pingliang's body, can you? Meng Yao said helplessly. That's true, but we can think of something. Yushu said, no matter what, let's tell Lin Yi about what happened here so he can prepare himself. Let's see if he can think of a way to deal with Pinliang. Meng Yao said, yeah, that's a good idea. But wait, Pinliang's here again. Yushu said, as expected, not long after, Pinliang appeared in front of Meng Yao and Yushu's classroom. Compared to how arrogant he was when he went to Coiling Tiger right, Pinliang was much more well-behaved in front of Meng Yao's classroom. The steel rod in his hand was disguised as a baseball bat, and it wasn't that eye-catching when he carried it on his shoulder. Pinliang walked up to Meng Yao and Yushu with a smile on his face. Yao Yao, Shu, I've beaten up that Zhao Qibing. Is there anything else I can do for you? I heard you only broke Zhao Qibing's legs. Didn't knock him out? You seem to have gone easy on him. Is there something going on between you? Yushu asked. Pinliang paused. He didn't think that the news would spread so fast. Yushu knew about it right after he beat up Zhao Qibing. Did she have eyes and ears nearby? But when he thought about it, it made sense that Lin Yi would arrange bodyguards around Meng Yao and Yushu. With that thought, Pinliang started to put up his guard. He wasn't afraid of being ambushed, but the feeling of being watched was very uncomfortable. That's not it. Pinliang quickly explained. Actually, I heard that Lin Yi likes to break Zhao Qibing's legs, right? That's why I copied Lin Yi. That won't do. If you copy Shield Bro, we only need Shield Bro. Why would we need a fake version like you? Yushu said with a wave of her hand. Liang Yi, your next step is to surpass Shield Bro in all aspects. For the latest chapters, please log in. It's a pleasure to read. I recommend you bookmark it. For more full text novels, download. Chapter 2494. It felt so good to watch it without ads. Well, of course. Pinliang quickly nodded. Shu, what do you think I should do next? Next? I haven't thought of what to do yet. Just wait, Yushu said. I'll let you know when I'm done. I see. Then when can I become Yao Yao's bodyguard? Pinliang asked impatiently. I say, Liang Yi, haven't you heard of the saying? Haste makes waste. Do you know how long Shield Bro had been with Yao Yao for Yao Yao to accept him? Yushu humphed. Didn't you see how much Yao Yao begged Shield Bro at the beginning? She even used you to teach him a lesson in school. Yeah. Pinliang remembered what had happened back in school. That was indeed the case. Back when he, Naipeo, and Gao Xiaofu were causing trouble for Lin Yi, Meng Yao, and Yushu had been very excited about it. That meant that Meng Yao had taken a long time to accept Lin Yi as her bodyguard. and that meant that replacing Lin Yi's position wasn't something that could be achieved in 1 or 2 days. So, Liang Yi, you should be grateful that I didn't encourage Yao Yao to get people to hurt you. It's good enough that I didn't stop you. If you're so impatient, I won't help you anymore. Yu Shu threatened. Don't, please don't. Pin Liang was really scared. Shu sis, you know me. I've always listened to you. It's always been like this, and it's still the same now. Look, you told me to buy spicy skewers and I did. I'm always listening to you. Yeah, so I'll try my best. But you need to be strong yourself. Go back and wait for my news. I'll let you know when I think of the next mission, Yu Shu said. All right, I'll leave first, Shu sis. Pin Liang nodded to Yu Shu respectfully before leaving with Gao Xiaofu. Lin Yi listened to Ming Yao's story and felt a headache coming on. Pin Liang had gotten a golden cicada undergarment from the Everyday and Everyday sect. Moreover, it seems to be a high-grade item that can resist the attacks of powerhouses under the heaven rank. Isn't this a bit too amazing? Not only that, he also had an iron rod that could break through the protection of Jinqi. Wasn't this a legendary divine weapon? Pin Liang had gained quite a lot from this. It seemed like the Everyday and Everyday sect really valued him, or rather, valued Zhang Naipeo for Naipeo's sake. Had Naipeo recovered? Lin Yi hadn't heard from Naipeo in a long time. He'd crippled him last time. Could it be that he'd recovered after going back and was able to continue? With that thought, Lin Yi's face turned solemn. It seemed like he couldn't underestimate the Everyday and Everyday sect. They were an ancient sect, after all, able to recover from wounds like Naipeo's. Of course, this was all Lin Yi guessed from Pin Liang's situation. If Naipeo wasn't fine and able to continue, then he'd be useless. The Everyday and Everyday sect wouldn't care about Naipeo at all. Zhang Naipeo's this strong now. Lin Yi took a deep breath. He didn't say it, but he was worried. Would he be able to deal with him? Although he was currently in the Earth stage, he could activate a martial skill equivalent to a Heaven stage expert. Yeah, Lin Yi, do you have a way to beat him? Meng Yao asked. Yu Shu could deal with Pin Liang for a while, but it wouldn't be for long. Once Pin Liang came, Lin Yi would have to deal with him. Hard to say. Lin Yi frowned. I don't know much about the golden cicada underwear. I'll ask Han Xiaopa later. But don't provoke him for now. Just let Shu deal with him. We'll talk about it when I get back. All right, I understand. Shu can still stall for some time. It's not too urgent. Don't worry too much. Meng Yao comforted. Yeah, I know. I'll think of something. Lin Yi said. All right, I won't disturb you anymore. You. Be careful. Meng Yao said. Okay. Lin Yi hung up the phone with a smile. The miss still couldn't let go of herself in front of him. She was more concerned about him now. But Lin Yi still felt like something was missing. Was it? It seemed like that was the case. The two were a little too polite, but it was nothing. Lin Yi turned around and left the room. He had 2 things to do. One was to trade the ice crystal for the earth element sky class blood from the sky class, and the other was to find Han Xiaopa to research the golden cicada underwear. He came to Han Xiaopa's room and knocked on the door. Boss. Han Xiaopa saw Lin Yi through the peephole and quickly opened the door. He didn't expect Lin Yi to find him so soon. As far as he was concerned, Lin Yi had to deal with young Chi-Chi first, then Xiaoka. The night would be gone by then. He walked into Han Xiaopa's room, and Han Xiaopa closed the door behind him. Boss, did you take care of things on your side? Haha, it's done. Lin Yi smiled. I have something to ask you. Boss, don't say that. Just say it. I'll tell you everything I know. Han Xiaopa quickly said. It's about the golden cicada underwear. Do you know about this thing? Lin Yi asked. I do. Didn't you win one at the Hidden House Summit? Han Xiaopa nodded. I did, but it's a low-tier golden cicada underwear. It can only defend against attacks from those below Earth class. Lin Yi nodded. Do you know what golden cicada underwear is? It can defend against attacks from those below Sky class. Oh, boss, you're talking about mid-tier golden cicada underwear? Mid-tier golden cicada underwear can defend against attacks from those below sky class. Han Xiaopa said, but this thing is a treasure. Only those powerful blacksmiths and sky class golden cicada spirit beasts could make it. Mid-tier golden cicada underwear. Lin nodded. Then there's also a high-tier one. The legends say that if you wear it, you'll be invincible under the heavenly Tao. Of course, that's just a legend. Whether or not it really exists, and who has it, I've never heard of it. Han Xiaopa smiled bitterly. After all, this thing is too heaven-defying. If it were to appear in the world, there would be a bloodbath for it. Oh, that's true. Lin Yi took in a cold breath. To be continued. For the latest chapters, please log in. Reading is a pleasure. I recommend you bookmark it. For more full-text novels, download. Chapter 2495. If there really was such a thing, then wouldn't it be invincible? Only the legendary elites in the Tao of Heaven could hurt the person wearing the high-grade golden cicada undergarment. Boss, why are you suddenly asking this? Han Xiaopa asked curiously. Did someone bring out this treasure to trade in this trade fair? No, I didn't. One of my old enemies joined the Everyday sect as a disciple and got a mid-level golden cicada undergarment. I don't know how to deal with him. Lin Yi didn't hide anything from Han Xiaopa. Oh, that's not good. Han Xiaopa thought about it, but couldn't think of anything. He shook his head. I've only heard of it, I've never seen it before. The hidden house Han doesn't have any records of it either. Yeah, I'll think of something myself, Lin Yi nodded. If it comes down to it, I'll have to ask Old Pai to do it. If Lin Yi really couldn't beat Pinliang, he'd have to ask Old Pai to intimidate him. Lin Yi didn't have any other ideas right now. That's good. Sky Class Masters are actually the best counter to mid-tier golden cicada underwear, Han Xiaopa said. One more thing. How do we find the practitioners who set up their stalls during the day? Lin Yi asked. Practitioners who set up their stalls during the day? What do you want to trade, boss? Han Xiaopa asked. The blood of the earth element sky class spirit beast. Lin Yi said, you should remember the cool girl in the black leather shirt and pants asked about that thing. Oh, it's that thing. Han Xiaopa nodded. We'll have to go to the reception downstairs to check. Some traders will register the items they want to trade when they register their room number. This is also to hide the trade. Some practitioners who aren't strong enough don't want to trade in public because they're afraid of being targeted. Then let's go take a look, Lin Yi said. Okay, but he might not register it. Han Xiaopa said as he left the room with Lin Yi. Well, let's wait and see. Lin Yi was just trying. If it didn't work out, he would think about it tomorrow. The two went downstairs together. When they arrived at the reception desk on the first floor, Han Xiaopa asked, Hello, I would like to ask if there are any customers registered to trade for the blood of an Earth attribute, Heaven, rank spirit beast. Sir, please wait a moment. Let me check for you, the waiter said. All right. Han Xiaopa nodded. The waiter skillfully searched for the information of the transaction item that Han Xiaopa had mentioned, and then said, Yes, there is indeed this information on the registration level. Can we trade with him? Han Xiaopa asked. Wait a moment. Let me ask. With that said, the waiter dialed an internal number. After getting a positive response from the other side, he said to Han Xiaopa, Yes, but please show me your room card information first. I have to make a registration. Han Xiaopa and Lin Yi took out their room cards and handed them to the attendant. The purpose of this was to ensure the safety of the transaction process. If there was any dispute, they could still find each other. After the attendant registered, he said to Han Xiaopa, The trader is waiting for you in room 4109. Please take the elevator this way. Thank you. Han Xiaopa and Lin Yi took back their room cards and then the two of them took the elevator and went upstairs. The two of them stopped in front of room 4109. Lin Yi knocked on the door. The voice of the heaven rank cultivator that they had met during the day came out. "Please come in." Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa pushed the door open and entered. It seemed that the heaven rank cultivator had already made preparations to welcome the guests. There was a tea set on the coffee table, and hot water was also prepared. "Please take a seat. Do you want to trade the blood of an earth attribute, heaven rank spirit beast?" The heaven rank cultivator pointed to the sofa at the side and went straight to the point. He was a heaven rank expert, so he was naturally not afraid of Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa. There were only a few heaven rank experts that came to this trade fair, and he knew all of them. Yes, Lin Yi nodded and sat on the sofa with Han Xiaopa. "Please have some tea." The heaven rank cultivator pointed to the tea set on the coffee table, not intending to pour tea for Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa himself. But it was no wonder. He was a heaven rank cultivator, so it was normal for him to have a high and mighty attitude. "Since the two of you are here, I'm sure you know my rules? I only want to trade for something from a water attribute, heaven rank spirit beast." The heaven rank cultivator didn't come out. Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa were the ones that followed Yang Qiqi during the day. He had been focusing on Yang Qiqi during the day, so he didn't have much of an impression of Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa. After all, there were a lot of practitioners that looked at his stuff. He couldn't remember them all. He only had some impression of Yang Qiqi, who wanted to trade. "That's right." Lin Yi nodded again. "But you're using the blood of an earth attribute, heaven rank spirit beast to trade for something from a water attribute, heaven rank spirit beast. It looks like a fair trade, but you're the one asking for a favor. Shouldn't you pay more?" "Haha. Since you're here to trade, then the blood of an earth attribute, heaven rank spirit beast should be useful to you as well, right? How could you say I'm asking for a favor?" The heaven rank cultivator wasn't stupid. He smiled and said directly, "I won't hide it from you. I'm only an earth class mid-phase peak, and my friend is only an earth class early phase. One of us is a fire element, and the other is a wood element." Lin Yi said as he used the first form of frenzy fist to prove his words. Han Xiaopa, naturally, used a wood element to prove Lin Yi's words. The heaven rank cultivator looked at the arts and strength of Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa and went silent. Lin Yi was right. The blood of an earth attribute, heaven rank spirit beast, wasn't that useful to them. "To tell you the truth, I'm actually an opportunist." Lin Yi said, "I have something from a water attribute, heaven rank spirit beast, but I don't need it. I'm here to trade with you because I want to get more benefits." "What? You really have it?" The heaven rank cultivator suddenly stood up and looked at Lin Yi in surprise. He had been looking for something from a water attribute, heaven rank spirit beast, for many years. Suddenly hearing that Lin Yi had something like that, he was naturally overjoyed. "I came here and said all this, so of course I have it." Lin Yi smiled. "So that's how it is." The heaven rank cultivator slowly nodded. "Since you've made it very clear that you want more benefits, I won't bargain with you. Can I take a look at your goods first? As long as it's what I need, everything's negotiable. To be continued. Chapter 2496. Of course, that's not a problem. Lin Yi reached into his pocket and took out the small bottle containing the ice crystal, turtle saliva. He handed it to the heaven tier cultivator and said, "It's here." The heaven tier cultivator took a deep breath and carefully took the small bottle from Lin Yi's hand. He opened it and was immediately overjoyed. That's right, he could feel the powerful water attribute energy contained in the small bottle. This was what he had been dreaming of. He was so excited that his hands were trembling. "I finally found it. With it, I can modify the attributes of divine weapons." Resisting the urge to snatch it, the heaven tier cultivator carefully capped the bottle and placed it on the tea table. He said, "Since you have raised your conditions, I will tell you the truth. My things are all here. You can take any one of them, including the blood of the earth, attribute, heaven, rank, spiritual beast." With that, the heaven tier cultivator opened a bag and placed it in front of Lin Yi. The small bottle containing the blood of the earth, attribute, heaven, rank, spiritual beast, was also inside. It wasn't that the heaven tier cultivator didn't want to snatch Lin Yi's things. It was because the purpose of the cultivator market was to ensure fairness and justice in transactions. If there was a problem, then the Cultivator Trade Association would definitely pursue the matter. Although he was a heaven tier cultivator, there were even more powerful heaven tier cultivators in the Cultivator Trade Association. Moreover, the thing he had been looking for so many years had appeared. He didn't want to complicate matters. Anyway, the blood of the earth, attribute, heaven, rank, spiritual beast was of little value to him. In fact, even if he wanted to snatch it, Lin Yi wasn't afraid of him. Since Lin Yi dared to come, he naturally had the confidence to escape unscathed. Spiritual beast core? Lin Yi looked at the heaven tier cultivator's bag in surprise. A round bead said in surprise, "Oh, you want this thing?" The heaven tier cultivator looked at Lin Yi in surprise and said, "This is the core of that earth attribute, heaven, rank, spiritual beast. When I found it, it had just been killed by an enemy spirit beast, so I collected a bottle of its blood and retrieved its inner core." "Then you only took one bottle of blood? What about the other things?" Lin Yi asked with some pity. "When it was killed by the spirit beast, its blood had almost dried up. It took me a lot of effort to collect a small bottle." The heaven stage cultivator looked at Lin Yi and smiled bitterly. "Otherwise, do you think I wouldn't bring more back? Moreover, there's nothing special on it." "I see." Lin Yi nodded and said, "Then I want this beast core and that bottle of earth attribute, heaven rank, spiritual beast blood." "All right, deal." The heaven stage cultivator readily agreed. This inner core was also useless to him. "All right." Lin Yi picked up the small bottle and the inner core. He stood up with Han Xiaopa and said, "Since the deal is done, we'll be leaving." "I won't see you out." The heaven rank cultivator nodded and then impatiently picked up the bottle of turtle spit ice crystals that Lin Yi had given him and impatiently studied it. Lin Yi smiled. He left the room with Han Xiaopa and walked towards their own room. "Boss, you brought this back for that cool girl?" Han Xiaopa was a little surprised at Lin Yi's actions. He didn't know why. "Yeah." Lin Yi nodded. "She wants this. It's for treating someone," and at this point, Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. Yang Chi-Chi wanted to treat Little Nine. Little Nine? Lin Yi thought of someone. Could it be her? Hacker Princess? He remembered Yang Chi-Chi's identity. She was an assassin from Butterfly Castle. The Hacker Princess was also from Butterfly Castle, and her nickname was Little Nine. She was also sick. Could it be that Yang Chi-Chi was really looking for something to treat her? At this point, Lin Yi felt that this was very likely. Otherwise, it would be too much of a coincidence. If that was the case, then he wouldn't just be helping Yang Chi-Chi, but his old friend. The thought of the Hacker Princess gave Lin Yi a headache. He hadn't contacted her in a long time. Would she be angry if he did? After some thought, Lin Yi gave up on the idea of calling her to get to the bottom of things. Whether it was her or not, Lin Yi only had one more reason to help Yang Chi-Chi. "I see. But boss, you're just too kind. Just because of this, you're giving the blood of an Earth Element Sky class to that cool girl." Han Xiaopa said sincerely, "You brat, you're just taking advantage of me. I help you level up, but can I give something to someone else?" Lin Yi smiled. "Haha, of course not." Han Xiaopa was a little embarrassed. "Let's go get some rest." "There's probably nothing much to do today," Lin Yi said. It was a quiet night, and the next morning, Lin Yi saw Han Xiaopa and Xiaoka dressed neatly in front of his room. There was also a very tired young Chi-Chi, her eyes a little red. Evidently, Chi-Chi hadn't slept well last night. Before Lin Yi left the room, Chi-Chi had been glaring at Xiaoka. If looks could kill, Xiaoka would be dead already. Xiaoka, however, didn't even look at Chi-Chi. She sympathized with her, but Xiaoka wasn't a magnanimous person. This girl wanted to steal something from Lin Yi, and what right did she have? And so, Xiaoka didn't even look at her. Chi-Chi's glare was useless. Chi-Chi couldn't find a way to vent her frustration. All she could do was glare at Lin Yi, but Lin Yi didn't seem to care. He nodded to Han Xiaopa. "What time does the auction start?" "9. Let's go get something to eat now," Han Xiaopa asked. "Okay," Lin Yi said. Chi-Chi didn't know that Lin Yi had let her steal the blue crystal on purpose, and thought that she'd been exposed. Lin Yi didn't say anything, but Chi-Chi knew that the chances were slim. She didn't even know why she followed Lin Yi around. Was it because she wanted to steal the blue crystal again, or was it because she wanted to kill Lin Yi for humiliating her? Chi-Chi felt like her brain was a mess. She was like a walking corpse as she followed Lin Yi to the restaurant. Lin Yi ordered 4 servings of breakfast, and Chi-Chi sat there, not refusing any. She ate her portion, but didn't say anything. Han Xiaopa didn't say anything either. He knew that Lin Yi had gotten back what Chi-Chi needed. But if Lin Yi didn't say anything, Han Xiaopa wouldn't say anything. He thought that Lin Yi wanted to teach Chi-Chi a lesson. Actually, Lin Yi really didn't want to teach Chi-Chi a lesson. But with Xiaoka here, Lin Yi didn't want to treat Chi-Chi too well. Chapter 2497. The surprise came from Xiaoka, was interested in the male thief, and if he cared too much about young Chi-Chi, Xiaoka might get hurt. See // and so Lin Yi was going to return the item to young Chi-Chi when there was no one around. After the 4 of them finished their breakfast, they walked towards the auction venue. There weren't many people entering the auction venue, only about 100 or so people. It seemed like many of the people who had participated in the market square didn't come to the auction. These people were still keen on setting up stalls to trade for goods. The items for auction were all written on the notice board outside the venue. Of course, there were some people who didn't want to attend the auction because there wasn't anything they wanted. At this moment, Lin Yi, Han Xiaopa, and the others were standing in front of the notice board, looking at the items being auctioned. There was no doubt that there would be a large number of elixirs for sale in this auction. Some of them were provided by Lin Yi, and the rest should be provided by the Hidden House of You. The number was about the same as what Lin Yi provided, but there were some additional level 1 and 2 elixirs for other purposes. Lin Yi skimmed through the names of the pills, his eyes finally stopping on pure topaz. There really was pure topaz being sold at this auction. It seemed like Han Xiaopa's information was true. In actuality, the Cultivator Trade Association would always leak some information about what was going to be auctioned, so it wasn't a big deal for Han Xiaopa to know about it beforehand. Lin Yi and the others entered the auction venue and found an empty seat. Han Xiaopa was just about to sit next to Lin Yi when he realized that Xiaoka was already sitting next to Lin Yi, and Yang Chi-Chi was about to sit on the other side. Han Xiaopa smiled bitterly and sat next to Yang Chi-Chi. It was around 8:50, and most of the people had arrived. The vice chairman of Heaven Class that Lin Yi had met at the entrance walked up to the stage with the pawnbroker. The Heaven Rank vice leader sat on the side while the pawnbroker stood beside the Heaven Rank vice leader. He picked up the microphone and said to the cultivators participating in the auction, "Welcome everyone to the auction organized by the Cultivator Trade Association. I'm Lu Xiansheng, known as Mr. Lu in the pugilistic world. I'm also the auctioneer for this auction." Obviously, the people below the stage were not surprised that Lu Xiansheng was on the stage as the auctioneer. It could be seen that he was the one who presided over the previous auctions. Although it was Lin Yi's first time participating, he had met him when he sent the pills to be auctioned previously, so there was nothing strange about it. "All right, since no one has any objections, let's begin the auction." Lu Xianqing said, according to the previous rules, the first item to be auctioned is the elixir from the Hidden Yu family. This is also the item that occupies a large proportion of the auction every time. However, today's elixirs did not completely come from the Hidden Right family. There's also another seller who put up some pills for auction. Wow! Lu Xianqing's words caused an uproar. Everyone was shocked. Which sect or family had the ability to provide elixirs to the Cultivator Trade Association? Could it be the Heavenly Elixir sect? However, although the Heavenly Elixir sect also provided elixirs to the Cultivator Trade Association, they only provided some high-grade elixirs. Moreover, the number of elixirs they provided was scarce. They would not auction them in such a low-level market. Instead, they would auction them in other large-scale cultivator auctions. This low-end elixir business had always been monopolized by the Hidden Yu family. Even if the Heavenly Elixir sect refined these low-end elixirs, they would hand them over to the Hidden Yu family to auction. As for the other sects and families, they had never heard of anyone who could refine a large number of elixirs. Below the stage, a young man raised his eyebrows and looked at Lu Xianqing unhappily. This person was from the Hidden Right family. He was also the young man who had been arrogant and despotic at the entrance of the cultivator's market to clear the way for the Heaven Stage expert, who was a short robber. However, everyone doesn't have to be surprised. According to my appraisal, the elixirs provided by the other seller are not inferior to the elixirs provided by the Hidden Yu family in terms of quality and purity. They are even more balanced. There is no difference in quality between each elixir. Lu Xianqing threw out another bombshell. What? The cultivators below the stage exclaimed after hearing it. As everyone knew, although the Hidden Yu family was an alchemy family and many earth-level elixirs were provided to them by the Heavenly Elixir sect, not to mention that these elixirs were refined by different alchemy masters. Even the same alchemy master couldn't guarantee the same quality every time he refined the elixir. Maybe if the condition was good, the quality of the elixir would be excellent. If the condition was bad, the quality of the elixir would be worse. Forming the elixir was the most basic requirement. However, after forming the elixir, the purity and quality were still different. However, every auction was a mixed auction. It was impossible to let the auctioneer pick the good and the bad. It could only be determined by luck. But now Lu Xianqing said that there was no difference in quality between the elixirs provided by the new seller. What kind of concept was this? How amazing was the alchemy master to be able to do this? Perhaps even the elder of the Heavenly Elixir sect couldn't do it, right? Other than the famous elder of the Xiantian sect, perhaps only the medical saint Zhang Liju could do it. Now, there was actually someone who could refine elixirs of the same quality. Everyone, don't be in a hurry to be shocked. I still have something to add, and that is, every single one of these pills is of the highest quality. You don't have to try your luck or gamble on your luck. You can directly buy them and bring them home. It was undeniable that Lu Xianqing's words were very provocative. It made many people's hearts stir after hearing it. However, the young man from the Hidden Yu family's face was even uglier. In the past, the Hidden Yu family was the backbone of every auction. Seeing their elixirs being bought by cultivators at high prices, the Hidden Yu family was very happy. But this time, there was an accident, and it was when the young man and his granddaughter were in charge. Naturally, he was very unhappy. They are all of the highest quality. Even if the price is higher, it's fine. A cultivator sitting below the stage suddenly said, "Nonsense, the price will definitely be higher. Everyone knows that it is the highest quality, so naturally they will pay more," another cultivator immediately said. It was just that Lin Yi felt that these two people were hired by the Cultivator Trade Association, but it didn't matter. The situation in front of him would only benefit Lin Yi. Lin Yi naturally wouldn't be stupid enough to question them. Chapter 2504_School. Bells, Bodyguard, Free. Reading Usher. Chapter 2504 End of Bringing Surprises. Part 2. Chapter 2498. I don't believe it. From although some people thought that the two people who suddenly spoke might be fake, what they said was not wrong. It was reasonable for the best quality medicinal pills to have a higher price. Look, I don't believe it. It's impossible for someone to send better quality medicinal pills than us. You know, the medicinal pills this time are provided by the Heavenly Elixir sect. Do you mean that someone's medicinal pills are better than the Heavenly Elixir sects? The young man finally couldn't help but stand up and ask. In the past auctions, the representatives of the hidden Wright family would always receive a lot of admiring gazes from other cultivators. However, this time, the same situation did not happen to the young man. He had coaxed and pestered his grandfather for a long time before he could attend this auction. In order to enjoy the admiring gazes of others, he had practiced acting tough for several days. He was prepared to say a few words when everyone was rushing to buy the elixir pills. Now that he had no place to use his skills, he suddenly became angry. "Pan Gao, if you don't believe me, you can come and appraise it." Lu Xianxing glanced at the young man and said faintly, "You're welcome." The young man hesitated a little. His grandfather was the guest elder of the Yu family. Because of his heaven stage strength, he was allowed to learn alchemy from the Yu family. He was also given the name Pan. Now he was considered a first-grade alchemist. Although his alchemy level was not satisfactory, he still had the ability to distinguish the quality of medicinal pills. So, when Lu Xiansheng made this proposal, he really wanted to go forward and verify the authenticity. He really didn't believe that someone's alchemy level was so high. Moreover, he knew the source of this batch of medicinal pills from the Yu family. It was sent by the Heavenly Elixir sect. So, even if someone's alchemy level surpassed the Hidden Yu family, it couldn't be better than the Heavenly Elixir sect, right? Hee, if you don't come and appraise it, then our auction will continue. Lu Xiansheng said with a slight smile. He didn't want to offend the Hidden Yu family. After all, Lin Yi's medicinal pills of good quality might still be available in the future. So, the business between the Cultivator Trading Association and the Hidden Yu family still had to continue. It was all for the sake of getting a good price for these pills. Firstly, it was to express his goodwill to Lin Yi and see if they could work together for a long time. Secondly, it was to earn more commission for himself. All right then, since Mr. Lu has invited me so strongly, I shall act as the appraiser for everyone. Right Pan Gao made his decision in an instant. He stood up and walked slowly to the stage. The movement of the right arm. No one objected. After all, Mr. Lu had only been boasting about himself. After the auction ended, they had no way of finding fault with him. After all, the concept of a pill's quality was too vague. Whatever others said made sense. Of course, the reason why Right Pan Gao dared to go on stage was because his grandfather, the short robber, wasn't here. The short robber was actually here to hold the fort. After safely escorting the pills to this place, he spent the rest of the time cultivating in his room. He left everything to his grandson to handle. If the shorty was here, Right Pan Gao wouldn't go on stage so easily. He had to pretend to be well-behaved. It's here. Mr. Gao on the right, please appraise it for us. Lu Xiansheng pushed a bunch of small bottles towards Right Pan Gao, indicating that he could take a few out for inspection. Right Pan Gao didn't stand on ceremony. He randomly picked up a small bottle and opened it. Inside was a small qi-gathering pill. Although he couldn't refine it, he was very familiar with it. Right Pan Gao's expression changed immediately. The small qi-gathering pill was round in shape. Its color was even and full. There were 2 faintly discernible lines on it, proving that it was a second-grade pill. These were all the characteristics of a supreme-grade pill. Right Pan Gao naturally recognized it. Of the pills he sent over, only a few could reach this quality. The rest were either uneven in color, oval in shape, or had no lines. Of course, these only affected the final effect of the pill. it didn't mean that there was no effect. In other words, the effect was just slightly weaker. It must be a fluke. Yu Pangao thought that he had casually picked up the best one, but the others might not be as good. So, he quickly picked up another small bottle and opened it to check. However, his expression changed again. This was a small qi-gathering pill. Its quality was basically the same as the previous one. They were both supreme grade. Right Pangao took a deep breath. He put down the small bottle in his hand and opened another bottle further away. This time it was a small Huan pill, but it was still supreme grade. Impossible, definitely impossible. Right Pangao's movements became faster and faster. He basically opened half of the small bottles in front of him, but all of them were supreme grade. Right Pangao panted heavily, unwilling to give up. His eyes were wide open, filled with shock and disbelief. "How is it, Mr. Gao on the right? Can you announce the results of your appraisal?" Lu Xianqing smiled. "This." Right Pangao hesitated. However, he didn't dare to speak carelessly in this situation. He could only bite the bullet and say, "Yes, they are all supreme grade pills." In fact, everyone had already guessed this result from Right Pangao's expression. However, when Right Pangao said it, everyone believed it. These cultivators didn't care about the Hidden Yu family's reputation. They only wanted to buy better things that were more useful to them. Hence, they were all eager to participate in the auction. "Hee, Mr. Gao on the right, thank you for your appraisal. You can go back now." Lu Xianqing gestured for everyone to leave. Then he said to everyone, "All right, let's start the auction." Yu Pangao walked back to his seat gloomily, and the auction had officially begun. As expected, the elixirs that Lin sent were auctioned at an average price of 15 million, while the Hidden House Yu's elixirs remained at the previous price of 10 million, no more, no less. However, although the price did not decrease, Right Pangao's expression was ugly with jealousy. Someone had stolen the Hidden Yu family's business. In previous auctions, the Hidden Yu family's pills were very popular. The supply could not meet the demand. However, this time at the end of the auction, no one bid. Obviously, those who wanted to buy the pills had already bought them. Seeing that the situation was not right, Lu Xianqing had no choice but to let the remaining pills go unsold. Lin Yi's goal here was to get the pure topaz. The other items didn't have much use to him, so he closed his eyes and rested while the others were auctioning off their items. He'd only be able to focus when the pure topaz was auctioned off. Chapter 2505. School Bell's Bodyguard Free Reading Underskirt. Chapter 2505. I don't believe it. Update complete. Chapter 2499. The next item to be auctioned is pure topaz. Lu Xianqing took a small box from the hands of a disciple and opened it in front of everyone, revealing the contents inside. He then said, "I don't need to introduce the uses of pure topaz. Everyone should know that pure jade is something that must be used to modify heaven-ranked divine weapons. This piece of pure topaz is not small. The starting price is 10 million, and each bid must not be less than 1 million. All right, let the auction begin." Lin Yi's eyes immediately lit up. Although Lu Xianqing described the size of the pure topaz, in reality, the pure topaz was really not big. It was only the size of a fist. However, the market price of this kind of pure topaz was already high. 10 million was really not a lot. Of course, the auction could not be completed with the starting price, especially in this kind of place. Before Lin he could even bid, someone had already bid. 15 million. A cultivator raised the number plate in his hand and said directly. Lin he looked towards the direction of the voice. He did not expect it to be the heaven-rank cultivator who exchanged for the turtle spit ice crystal. After he went back, it was obvious that he wanted to modify weapons. At this time, it was reasonable to bid for pure topaz. It was not a rare thing. However, Lin secretly regretted it. If he knew that this guy would interfere, it would be better to wait for the auction to end before exchanging with him. Before he obtained the turtle spit ice crystal, he might not be enthusiastic enough to bid for a piece of pure topaz. 20 million. Another voice sounded. It was actually Right Pan Gao. Lin Yi did not expect this pure topaz to be so popular. Even Right Pan Gao wanted it. 21 million. Another thin and tall cultivator bid, but the increment was not as fierce as the previous two. 25 million. The heaven rank cultivator bid again. 30 million. Right Pan Gao also raised his hand and bid. 31 million. The thin and tall cultivator hesitated for a moment and also bid. This pure topaz appreciated very quickly. It appreciated faster than the previous auction items. In the blink of an eye, it had already exceeded 30 million. From the looks of it, the price was still rising. Lu Xianqing's mouth revealed a trace of a smile. This situation was what he was most happy to see. The auction was not afraid of people bidding. What they were afraid of was no one bidding for the item. It was the same pure color jade. It had appeared in previous auctions, but sometimes it was sold at a low price of more than 10 million, which made Lu Xianqing's heart bleed. After all, a piece of pure colored jade could be sold for a similar price in the jewelry market, let alone a cultivator's auction. But this thing was just a coincidence. Lu Xianqing also understood that when there was no one to buy it, no matter how good it wasn't money. When there was someone to buy it, even if it wasn't worth much, it was still money. 35 million. The heaven rank cultivator raised the price once again. 50 million. Yu Pan Gao looked impatiently at the heaven-ranked cultivator. Although he knew that this person was a heaven-ranked cultivator, in his opinion, how could an itinerant cultivator be a match for the Hidden Yu family? Therefore, Right Pan Gao directly threw out a high price of 50 million. When the Heaven Realm cultivator heard Pan Gao's bid, he seemed very angry. But he was a heaven rank rogue cultivator. Although he didn't rely on any family or sect, he made a lot of money as a bodyguard for a wealthy merchant. Occasionally, he would also secretly accept some international bounty hunter missions, accumulating a considerable amount of wealth. 60 million. The heaven-ranked cultivator called out his bid again. If it wasn't for the fact that he urgently needed jade to refine weapons, he wouldn't spend 60 million on these things. Wouldn't that be like having nowhere to spend his money? The tall and skinny man was stunned. He never thought that a pure yellow jade could be raised to a high price of 60 million. This was already beyond the limit of what he could bear. Therefore, he shook his head and put down the sign in his hand. He gave up the bid, but Pan Gao was unwilling to give up. He didn't know what other people would use this pure yellow jade for, but he was determined to get it, because this was a mission given by Old Master Yu, and he heard that it seemed to be related to the Heavenly Elixir sect. 80 million! Pan Gao was furious. Why was this person fighting with him? Why couldn't he buy anything? Why did he have to fight with me for this thing? 100 million! The heaven-ranked cultivator was also anxious. It wasn't that he had to buy it, but the opportunity was here. If he gave up and went back to look for pure jade, it wouldn't be worth it. Therefore, he also called out a sky-high price. If he couldn't, he could only give up. After all, his strength wasn't as strong as the Hidden Yu family. 110 million. Pan Gao continued to raise the price. No matter what, he was determined to get this pure yellow jade. The heaven-ranked cultivator gave up unwillingly. He put the sign in his hand on the table and didn't continue to raise the price. Although Lu Xiansheng felt that it was a pity that no one continued to raise the price, it was rare for a pure yellow jade to be sold for more than 100 million. In the last auction, a pure purple jade was only sold for 32 million. It wasn't even a third of this time's price. 110 million going once. Lu Xianxing began to call out the price. 120 million. Lin Yi raised the sign in his hand. This price had already exceeded Lin Yi's expectations. If it wasn't for Lin Yi's previous elixirs that were sold for nearly 300 million, he would still be left with more than 200 million after deducting the commission. Otherwise, Lin Yi wouldn't have the money to buy it. Jie. Pan Gao didn't expect that the heaven-ranked cultivator wouldn't come to compete with him. Instead, someone came out of nowhere and started to compete with him again. His face turned extremely ugly. He turned to look at Lin Yi, wanting to see if Lin Yi was hired by the auction. Lin Yi didn't bother with the Pan Gao on the right. He just sat there calmly after saying his price. 130 million. Pan Gao tried to test the waters, unwilling to give up. 131 million. Although Lin Yi had money, he couldn't spend it recklessly. Wouldn't it be better to give the extra money to you, Xiaoka, to develop the orphanage? F***CK. Pan Gao heard Lin Yi's bidding method and was instantly enraged. Who would increase the price like this? Was it fun? Although the minimum price increase could be 1 million, in reality, once the price of an item reached a certain level, no one would do that. It was equivalent to purposely making things difficult for others. 150 million. Yu Pan Gao glared at Lin Yi. 151 million. Lin Yi said, faintly, but he was a little anxious in his heart. Although he made a lot of money from elixirs, money shouldn't be squandered like this. In the blink of an eye, it was already 150 million. Although the materials of this elixir belonged to House Yu, and it was self-produced and sold. There wasn't much cost, but it was basically a one-off business. It was impossible to expect to get more materials from House Yu. Chapter 2500. He was speechless. 180 million. This pure topaz belongs to the Hidden Yu family. Yu Pan raised a sign and looked at Lu Xianxing. Yu Pan Gao's intention was clear. He wanted Lu Xianxing to make the final decision as soon as possible. He called out 180 million. This was already giving the Cultivator Trading Association enough face. It suddenly increased from 150 million to nearly 30 million. Lu Xianxing smiled bitterly in his heart. He didn't expect to face these two people in the end. One was from the Hidden Yu family, and the other was the person who consigned the elixirs. He really didn't know how to choose. If it was any other time, he would give Yu Pan Gao face and make the final decision. But now, doing so was equivalent to offending a potential big supplier of the Cultivator Trading Association. Look, 181 million. Lin Yi frowned secretly. If this continued, he definitely wouldn't be Yu Pan Gao's opponent. The Hidden Yu family was rich. Kid, it seems that you are deliberately going against the Hidden Yu family. Yu Pan Gao was furious. He stood up and stared at Lin Yi fiercely. I have already said that this pure topaz belongs to the Hidden Yu family. What a joke, Lin Yi said coldly. The rule of the auction is that the highest bidder wins. I have never heard of anyone saying that this thing belongs to me, and no one will compete. However, if you insist that I am going against the Hidden Yu family, then so be it. Yu Pan Gao glared at Lin Yi. His chest heaved up and down. After a while, he said to Lu Xianxing, 200 million. Kid, if you know what's good for you, give this thing to me. 201 million. Lin Yi raised the sign with his right hand, but his left hand didn't stop. He directly flicked a small stone that he picked up from the ground and shot it at Yu Pan Gao, who was not far away. This guy had raised the price to 200 million, and Lin Yi couldn't let him continue. If he did, he wouldn't have the money to pay. Therefore, after much consideration, Lin Yi could only think of such a method, which was to seal the acupoint of the right Pan Gao. Lu Xianxing wanted to make him temporarily speechless, so that Lu Xianxing could make the final decision. 2. Right Pan Gao wanted to continue bidding, but he suddenly realized that he couldn't speak. Although he was a cultivator, what he cultivated was the mental cultivation method of an alchemist. His vigilance was relatively poor. He did not expect that Lin Yi would use a small stone to attack him, so he did not use his true qi to protect his body and was directly hit on his acupoint. He was speechless. Yu Penghao's mouth gaped open in shock, but he could not utter a single word. "Mr. Liu, since Pan Gao has stopped bidding, can we drop the hammer now?" Lin Yi looked at Lu Xianxing and asked. Although Lu Xianxing found it strange that Pan Gao had stopped bidding with his mouth wide open, he still followed the rules of the auction and asked, 201 million going once, 201 million going twice. Ha! Ha! Pan Gao wanted to speak, but he couldn't. It was very difficult. The vice president of Heaven Division looked at Pan Gao and frowned. However, Lin Yi did it secretly, throwing the small stone at the same time he bid. At that time, everyone's attention was on him, so naturally no one looked at Pan Gao, not even the vice president of Heaven Division. They didn't notice this detail. It wasn't that he didn't notice it, but that he didn't pay attention at all. He was only here to hold the fort. In his opinion, no one would cause trouble at the auction, so it was even more impossible for him to pay attention to everyone in the auction. Moreover, the acupoint was a legendary martial art technique. Most cultivators had only heard of it, but had never seen it before. They didn't know how to use it, so no one thought in this direction. 201 million going thrice sold. Lu Xianxing raised the small hammer and knocked it down, finalizing the deal. Congratulations to the winner. After the auction ends, come to me to complete the procedures. Wait, I bid. Not long after Lu Xianxing finished speaking, Pan Gao spoke again. I bid 210 million. You can't sell it to him. I'm sorry, I've already bid for it. Lin Yi looked at Pan Gao mockingly and said, What were you doing earlier? I suddenly couldn't speak. Pan Gao also felt that this matter was a bit strange. Why did he suddenly lose his ability to speak? In fact, Lin Yi's timing was impeccable, controlling the strength of the pressure point so that the right Pan Gao would be rendered speechless for a short period of time. When the time was over, the right Pan Gao would return to normal and it wouldn't draw too much suspicion. A gentleman can't blame himself. If you can't speak, who are you blaming? Lin Yi glanced at Pan Gao, then turned his head and ignored him. Although the matter was a bit strange, Lu Xianxing wanted the auction to proceed normally. He didn't have time to study Pan Gao's matter, so he directly moved on to the next treasure. Pan Gao, on the other hand, looked at Lin Yi hatefully. It didn't matter what the reason was. It didn't matter if it was Lin Yi's doing or not. This pure topaz was mine. I'll let you have it for a while, but it'll still end up in my hands in the end. I'll save a lot of money too. Pan Gao had already made up his mind to snatch it. He was prepared to wait for the auction to end, then let his grandfather do it. He wasn't very clear about what this pure topaz was used for. He only knew that this pure topaz was hidden, and the Pan Gao family was determined to get it. If anything went wrong, it would be hard for him and his grandfather to explain to the family. Especially after his grandfather had just carried out a mission and messed it up, they were even more eager to perform meritorious deeds to wash away the previous shame. Of course, the failure of the previous mission wasn't actually his grandfather's fault. The enemy was too strong, and his grandfather had no choice. After the hidden, Pan Gao family knew the reason. They didn't say anything, but his grandfather felt a little embarrassed. The mission of this auction was simple and easy. He thought that it would be completed smoothly, but who would have thought that there would be someone who interfered? In the following auctions, because there wasn't anything that Lin Yi wanted, Lin Yi didn't pay too much attention to it. Time flew, and in the blink of an eye, the auction was over. Lin Yi stood up and walked to the inner room at the back of the auction hall to settle the previously sold elixirs and purchased pure topaz. Most of the people at the auction didn't want to reveal their names and identities, especially when there were cultivators around. Therefore, other than a few people who swiped their cards, Most people carried large suitcases with Swiss francs to carry out transactions. It seemed that this was a long-standing rule. The exchange rate of Swiss francs was relatively high, and the face value of banknotes was relatively large, so it was used as the currency used in the Cultivator Trading Association. Chapter 2507. School Bells Bodyguard Free. Reading Chapter 2507. I am speechless. Update complete. Chapter 2501. Yang Qiqi's disappointment came from Lin. He walked up to Lu Xianqing according to his number. HM. You have an auction item and an auction item. Should we settle it together? Lu Xianqing looked at Lin Yi's number and asked. Let's settle it together, Lin Yi said. Okay. Lu Xianqing nodded and started calculating. He was vague about the auction item, but he didn't say what Lin Yi was auctioning. No one would suspect anything. After all, there were so many things in this auction. Who knew what Lin Yi was auctioning? Lu Xianqing calculated Lin Yi's bill and realized that he still owed Lin Yi 40 million. It was equivalent to 6 million Swiss francs, so he asked directly, Do you want to transfer or cash? Cash, Lin Yi said. He didn't want to expose his real identity yet. The longer people found out about his elixir refining, the better. With the relationship between House Yu and the Cultivator Trade Association, it wouldn't be hard to get information about Lin Yi. So, Lin Yi tried not to leave any information related to himself, such as his bank account number. Although Lin Yi had an anonymous account abroad, Lin Yi had used it many times. If someone wanted to contact him, it wouldn't be hard to contact Lin Yi. Okay. Lu Xianqing gave Lin Yi a piece of paper and the pure yellow jade that Lin Yi got from the auction. He said to Lin Yi, Go to the window over there and get the cash. Thank you. Lin Yi took the paper and put the pure yellow jade away carefully. He went to another window and passed the paper over. The disciple glanced at it and went to the inner room to prepare. After a while, he came back with a suitcase and gave it to Lin Yi. Sir, your money is here. You can count it. No need. After Lin Yi took the suitcase, he went straight to the door. The size of the suitcase was fixed. Even if it was only 10,000 Swiss francs, the Cultivator Trade Association would still use a large suitcase. This was also for the sake of secrecy. No one would be able to judge the amount of money inside from the size of the suitcase, and no one would be able to guess what the item was being auctioned. Lin Yi naturally wouldn't be stupid enough to count the number on the spot. That would be tantamount to confessing. If someone added the price of the pure topaz from before, it wouldn't be difficult to imagine the total value of those pills. Moreover, Lin Yi did not believe that the Cultivator Trade Association would cheat in this aspect. Lu Xianqing didn't say anything, but after the vice president of Heaven Division saw Lin Yi leave, his eyes flashed. He didn't tell Lu Xianqing his plan. After all, although the Cultivator Trade Association was strong, it was an organization that emphasized fairness and justice. Lu Xianqing was also a relatively decent person. Although his position wasn't as high as the vice president, he was the chief auctioneer and appraiser of the market square. His status in the Cultivator Trade Association was also aloof. Even if the vice president of Heaven Division didn't give him face, he couldn't do anything to him. He was a special talent of the Cultivator Trade Association. Even the president would be polite to him. What the vice president of Heaven Division wanted to do was against the morality of the Cultivator Trade Association. His disciple was killed after failing to ask for a bribe. It didn't make sense for him to take revenge. If this was known by the president, he would definitely not let it go easily. Especially if the other hostile vice president knew about it, he would lose a layer of skin. So the vice president didn't plan on telling Lu Xianqing at all. After Lin Yi left, the vice president found an excuse and left the office. He had to plan to surround Lin Yi at the foot of the mountain. After Lin Yi left a seat, a lot of people prepared their positions. Yang Qiqi saw that the Heaven Division was about to leave. After hesitating for a moment, he quickly caught up and called out, "Senior, please wait." "Oh," It's you. The Heaven Division turned around and saw Yang Chi-Chi. He still had an impression of Yang Chi-Chi. She was the girl who wanted to trade the blue crystal for the blood of an Earth Element Sky class spirit beast. Senior, my blue crystal. I don't have it on me right now, but don't worry, I'll get it as soon as I get home and trade it with you. Please don't give it to anyone else, I beg you. Yang Chi-Chi said sincerely. Lin Yi had taken the blue crystal, but Chi-Chi knew that there would be another blue crystal up for sale in the upcoming auction abroad. She'd go all out to get another blue crystal and bring it back to trade with the Sky class. Haha, I'm sorry, little girl, but I've already traded the blood away, the Sky class practitioner said to Chi-Chi. So, I can't trade with you anymore. What? Chi-Chi paled upon hearing the Sky class practitioner's words. It's already been traded? How is that possible? How could this be? Last night, someone brought something I needed and traded it with me. I couldn't refuse. The Heaven Division said. So, little girl, there's nothing I can do. What did he trade with you? Yang Chi-Chi asked. It's what I need. Something from a water element heaven class. The Heaven Division said. Then, can you tell me who it was that traded the blood away? Chi-Chi had no choice but to ask for the next best thing. I can't tell you that, it's a personal secret. I can't reveal his identity without the person's permission. The Heaven Division shook his head. Wasn't it the person sitting beside you, fighting with Right Pan Gao for the yellow jade? But he couldn't say that already. Lin Yi and Yang Chi-Chi looked like they knew each other, and they were even sitting together. But the more it was like that, the weirder the Heaven Division felt. The two were sitting together, and Lin Yi hadn't told Yang Chi-Chi the truth. Wasn't that hiding something? And so the Heaven Division wouldn't be the bad guy and reveal things like that. On the contrary, he was very grateful to Lin Yi for giving him what he needed, and even beating Pan Gao in the competition for the pure topaz, allowing him to vent some of his frustrations. Because Lin Yi had entered the competition later, the Heaven Division had already given up. He didn't hate Lin Yi at all. I see. Yang Chi-Chi knew that she was forcing the Heaven Division. All right, little girl, I'll be leaving now. The Heaven Division turned around and left the auction house. Chapter 25:08 The Campus Belle's Bodyguard is Free. Yang Chi-Chi's disappointment update was complete. Chapter 25:02 You're Lin Yi? From Chi-Chi looked at the back view of the man leaving, filled with sadness and regret. She couldn't stop the tears from flowing down her cheeks. She'd failed. She'd failed in the end. She couldn't get the blood, so what would happen to Lil Nine? Lin Yi walked out from the back of the auction house and saw Chi-Chi talking to the Sky class from afar. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he saw Chi-Chi crying on the ground. This girl was an assassin. How could she be so weak? Coming out to do a mission like that? Shaking his head, Lin Yi walked over to Chi-Chi quickly. Chi-Chi heard footsteps beside her and raised her head. It was Lin Yi, and she pouted before lowering her head again, crying even harder. This guy was so evil. He was here to watch the show, wasn't he? You still have the blue crystal? Lin Yi asked. Lin Yi had heard the conversation between Chi-Chi and the Sky class, and he was very interested in the fact that Chi-Chi still had the blue crystal. What does that have to do with you? You're not going to steal my blue crystal, are you? Chi-Chi thought that Lin Yi was going to steal her stuff again. She raised her head and glared at Lin Yi. Don't think that you can bully me just because you're strong. Wait until my dad comes back. He won't let you get away with this. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Chi-Chi's words. Was this a competition of fathers? What are you laughing at? I'm telling you, my dad's really strong. Even his disciple can beat you up half to death. Chi-Chi got even angrier at the sight of Lin Yi laughing. She warned Lin Yi fiercely. It's nothing. Lin Yi shook his head helplessly as he took out the blood from his pocket and put it in Chi-Chi's hand. This is... Chi-Chi stared at the bottle Lin Yi had given her in disbelief, her eyes wide as she raised her head. You don't always bite the hand that feeds you in the future. Lin Yi patted Chi-Chi's head. Looks like Mr. Dongwa's story was for nothing. You really have a bad memory. Not everyone is as kind as me. Chi-Chi paused and raised her head, a strange look on her face. What do you mean? There was an idiot who saved an injured girl on the road. The girl lost too much blood and almost died. Then the idiot saved the girl. That girl wanted to kill that idiot for looking at her body. There was also an idiot who saw a young girl fail a mission in Bluetown. He helped the young girl, but the young girl still seemed to hold a grudge against him. After a while, the idiot went to participate in the Ice Palace's trial and encountered that young girl again. That young girl had been robbed of her treasures. Thus, the idiot helped the girl find many treasures of heaven and earth, helping her complete the task, but after a certain period of time. But after a while, the girl tried to steal his blue crystal again. Lin Yi told her about his encounters with Chi-Chi. Ah, why were you? You're that Lin Yi? Chi-Chi's shocked face got even more colorful after hearing Lin Yi's words. She stared at Lin Yi, speechless. She didn't understand what was going on. She never would have thought that this person would be her savior. All right, go back early. This is my phone number. Call me if there's any news about the blue crystal. Lin Yi gave Chi-Chi a piece of paper. Of course, you can come to me for revenge, but not today. Leave as soon as possible. Someone's looking for trouble. Ah, someone's looking for trouble? Are you okay? Do you need my help? Chi-Chi asked subconsciously. The person in front of her was Lin Yi, and this kind of change changed Chi-Chi's heart as well. Chi-Chi's sudden change made Lin Yi speechless. Was this girl suddenly caring about him? Lin Yi shook his head with a smile. It's nothing. Just take care of yourself. Oh. Chi-Chi felt a little worried all of a sudden. She didn't know why, but the hatred she had for Lin Yi was gone all of a sudden. Could it be that she was starting to like him? That couldn't be, right? She loved brother Xiao Yi unwaveringly. How could she fall in love with someone else? That was impossible, absolutely impossible. Yes, he must have given her the blood of an earth element sky class spirit beast. And she let him go because he could save Lil 9. That had to be it. I'm leaving. Lin Yi didn't linger. He realized that Han, Xiaopa, seemed to be in trouble as well. This trouble came from the hidden house Yu, Pan Gao. He was pointing at Han Xiaopa and Xiaoka with an arrogant face. Who was that person sitting with you? Don't tell me you don't know him. Tell me, and I'll only look for trouble with him. I won't do anything to you. You guessed right, we really don't know him. Han Xiaopa had been with Lin Yi for a while now, and his temperament had changed. He was no longer the weak and cautious Han Xiaopa of the hidden house Yu. Although the hidden house Yu couldn't be compared to the hidden house Yu. As long as Lin Yi was on their side, the hidden house Yu wouldn't dare do anything to them. You dash, Pan Gao raged. He didn't think that this person would be this ignorant, rebutting him. Do you know who I am? I do. Aren't you called Pan Gao? Mr. Liu has said it many times. You're from the hidden house Yu. Han Xiaopa said faintly. Since you know I'm from the hidden house Yu, why are you going against me? Pan Gao raged. So what if I'm right? I'm not afraid to tell you that you're no match for me. Han Xiaopa was someone who only knew how to make pills. It was a piece of cake for him to beat Pan Gao. Who are you? Pan Gao was both shocked and angry. All right, aren't you looking for me? What are you yelling for? I didn't run away. I just want to get the pure topaz. Lin Yi patted Pan Gao's shoulder and said faintly. Pan Gao was still angry, but he jumped when Lin Yi suddenly patted him from behind. He went to find Han Xiaopa and Xiaoka because he was afraid that Lin Yi would run away. But now that Lin Yi was back, he didn't need to find anyone else. He turned to face Lin Yi. Why did you pat me? Do you know who I am? Chapter 2509 The Campus Bells Bodyguard is Free. Your Linny? Update complete. Chapter 2503 Do you have amnesia? He just told you that you are the hidden house U's right Pangao, and you turned around and forgot? With your IQ, don't run around on the streets. You'll get lost again. Lin Yi looked at Right Pangao mockingly. Kid, who doesn't know how to talk fast. I just want to ask you one question. The hidden house you is determined to get the pure topaz. Are you going to let it go or not? Right Pangao asked. If you wanted to let it go, I would have let you have it just now. Lin Yi said. All right, if this is what you want, you can leave. Good, very good. I'll remember you. Right Pangao nodded and smiled instead of being angry. I want to see how long you can keep the pure topaz in your hands. With that, Right Pangao didn't wait for Lin Yi's reply. He turned around and left, quickly disappearing from Lin Yi's sight. However, Lin Yi knew that Right Pangao didn't really leave just like that. He probably asked his grandfather to think of a way to deal with him, secretly. Lin Yi passed the box to Yu Xiaoka and said, This is for you. Ah, for me? Yu Xiaoka was stunned. You and Han Xiaopa go down the mountain first. Wait for me at the parking lot. Lin Yi told Yu Xiaoka and Han Xiaopa. There were many people at the parking lot at the bottom of the mountain. It was relatively safer there. As long as they didn't initiate a conversation with strangers, there wouldn't be any problems. Han Xiaopa's expression changed slightly. He thought of something and said, Boss, that right Pangao, and don't worry. Lin Yi waved his hand. He didn't want Han Xiaopa and Yu Xiaoka to worry. Even if he told them the truth, they wouldn't be able to help much with their strength. So, Lin Yi decided to take it on himself. To be honest, Lin Yi was not afraid of the enemies from the hidden Yu family. Lin Yi was afraid of the vice president of Heaven Stage. He was an expert at the peak of the early phase of the Heaven rank, and it seemed that he was slightly stronger than the average Heaven rank expert. Lin Yi wasn't sure if he could deal with him. After all, Lin Yi's current martial skills could be used for sneak attacks, but it was a head-on confrontation. Lin Yi did not have any advantage. All right, we'll be leaving first. Han Xiaopa nodded. Then, be careful. Xiaoka looked at Lin Yi worriedly and suddenly leaned forward bravely, kissing Lin Yi's lips. Lin Yi was startled. Yu Xiaoka's sudden action made his heart skip a beat. Although both of them were masked, there was no skin contact. However, Lin Yi had never experienced his heart beating like an electric current before. At this moment, Lin Yi realized that Xiaoka had occupied a large place in his heart without him realizing it. I'll wait for you. Xiaoka was brave, but she couldn't let go in front of Han Xiaopa. It was already amazing that she could do this, and it showed how much she liked the male thief. She quickly separated after kissing Lin Yi. Her eyes were filled with shyness as she said to Lin Yi, Okay, I will. Lin Yi said solemnly. Not far away, Yang Qiqi was still paying attention to Lin Yi's movements. She didn't know why, but for some reason, she felt a wave of discomfort when she saw Xiaoka taking the initiative to kiss her. How shameless, taking the initiative to kiss a man. It was too embarrassing. Yang Qiqi only cared about cursing Xiaoka. She didn't notice the road under her feet and stepped on a stone. She staggered and almost fell to the ground. Seeing that everyone was looking at her strangely, Yang Qiqi snorted and left quickly. Practitioners could stagger when they fell. How stupid would a cultivator be? Lin Yi watched as Han Xiaopa and Xiaoka left the market and went to the parking lot not far away. A cold smile appeared on his face as he turned and walked in another direction. This direction wasn't the market, and it wasn't the way to leave either. It was another path up the mountain. This road was obviously not a regular road, but a rugged natural path that was very difficult to walk. It was in the opposite direction of the cultivator's market. In the cultivator's market, The vice president of heaven rank was sitting in a courtyard, and the other person was his disappointing disciple, Skinny Stick. Master, are we just going to let that kid leave like this? He doesn't just have blue crystals, he also has yellow jade. Skinny said anxiously, Don't worry. The vice president smiled faintly and waved his hand at the skinny man. It's impossible for him to leave. Where can he go? Don't worry. My eyes have been watching him. Not only did he not leave, but he went to another mountain path. I don't know if he knows something or is doing it on purpose. Mountain path? Isn't that the herb plantation of our cultivator trade association? He went up. Skinny's face changed. So I don't know what he's doing up there. The vice chairman said, But don't worry, if we don't do it, someone will do it for us. Master, you mean? Skinny asked carefully, Can he go back safely after offending the hidden house Yu? You don't have to think about the yellow jade. The hidden house Yu is determined to get it. There's no point in us snatching it back. Although it was auctioned for more than 200 million this time, it might not be the same price the next time. Tens of millions at most. We don't need to offend the hidden house Yu for such a thing. The vice chairman said, Our goal this time is the blue crystal. Oh, master, you mean to let the hidden house Yu make the first move? The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. We'll wait until they're almost done before we make our move. Skinny understood what his master meant. Yes, that's it. The vice chairman nodded. But that kid is just a peak Earth class mid-stage master. Is there a need to do this? If we work together with the hidden house Yu, maybe we can get more benefits? Skinny asked in confusion. Just peak Earth class mid-stage? If it's just that, how did he cripple your brothers and almost kill them? The vice chairman sneered and said, Don't you need to use your brain to think about it? This. Skinny finally remembered why they were looking for Linny. He immediately broke out in a cold sweat. Yes, how could a peak Earth class mid-stage master so easily kill a peak Earth class late-stage master? Either Lin he was able to fight someone stronger than him, or he was hiding his true strength. One had to know that even a Sky class early phase couldn't kill an Earth class late phase peak with just one move. It was simply unbelievable. To be continued. Chapter 2504. As a bodyguard. Let's go, it's about time. The hidden house of Yu should be on the move. We should get ready to go. The vice leader stood up. The vice leader was right. When Yu Pan Gao returned to the hotel room and told the short man everything that had happened, the short man was furious. The pure topaz was something that old man Yu had personally ordered him to get. Now that it was stolen, he wouldn't let it go. Especially when Yu Pan Gao exaggerated about how arrogant Lin Yi was, and how he didn't care about the hidden house of Yu. This made the short man even angrier, and he brought Yu Pan Gao out. Kid, you're quite good at choosing your route. Yu Pan Gao caught up to Lin Yi and looked at Lin Yi's back from afar. He laughed coldly. Don't think that we won't be able to find you just because you went up the mountain. I've said it before. Let's see how long you can keep the pure topaz in your hands. Lin Yi's path was indeed out of Yu Penggao's and the short man's expectations, but with the help of some people in the Cultivator Trade Association, they were able to find him without a hitch. In fact, the vice leader was using them as pawns to test the waters. Lin Yi could easily kill an Earth-class late-phase peak master, so his true strength was at least at the early phase of Sky class. If that was the case, then they would let an early phase Sky class master test it out and see how deep Lin Yi's strength was. Lin Yi laughed coldly and turned his head. He looked at Yu Pan Gao and the short man with a mocking smile and said calmly, Do you know why I chose this path? Isn't it simple? Because you were afraid that we would come to steal the pure topaz and wanted to escape, so you purposely chose this remote place. But you won't be able to hide. Yu Pan Gao said proudly. Wrong. Lin Yi said calmly. Wrong? Don't quibble, there's no one here. You don't need to keep your pitiful pride. Your companion already ran for her life. Haha, stop pretending, Yu Pangao said mockingly. I chose this place because there aren't many people here. It doesn't matter if my identity is exposed. Lin Yi waved his hand and said to Yu Pangao, the hidden house of you is really an idiot. You are the same. Yu Pangao is the same. You, you have a sharp tongue, and you're still so stubborn even at death. Pangao snorted, exposed? What identity do you have to be exposed? I say, short robber, your injuries healed quite quickly, didn't they? Looks like I didn't put too much force into that slap back then. You're still alive and kicking, looking for trouble. Lin Yi ignored Pangao. Instead, he looked at the short expert not far away and said coldly, Ah. The short expert was taken aback, and a look of horror flashed in his eyes. You are... So, the people from the Hidden Right family are all idiots. You brought your grandson to chase after me to your death? Lin Yi said as he looked at the short expert playfully. Brat, who are you calling courting death? Right Pangao didn't recognize Lin Yi, so he didn't understand the situation. When he heard Lin Yi say that he was courting death, he instantly exploded. Pa! However, Yu Pangao had not finished speaking. The short expert ruthlessly slapped him across the face. Little bastard, shut up! Ah, grandfather, Right Pangao didn't know what was going on. He didn't know why his grandfather suddenly gave him a slap. Feeling wronged, he asked, What's wrong with me? Hee, Mr. Lin, I was just joking. The short expert was sweating profusely. He was a heaven rank expert, so he was very domineering. However, he could also distinguish between the strong and the weak. The combination of him and Right Pangao was far worse than the combination of him and the tall robber. Lin Yi could easily kill the previous combination. Wouldn't it be as easy as flipping his hand to kill him and his grandson? So, after understanding the situation, the short expert decisively gave in. Joke? You brought your grandson all the way here just to joke? Lin Yi stared at the short expert angrily. Are you crazy? I'm not crazy. Actually, my real purpose was to prevent Mr. Lin from carrying such a precious thing like the pure topaz. What if you meet a robber on the way? So, my grandson and I volunteered to be his bodyguards. The short expert said, That's right. The short expert said, Oh, that's it. Oh, you came to be a bodyguard. All right, you guys hide first. Someone's coming. Lin Yi waved his hand. Someone's coming? Then we'll leave first. The short expert hurriedly said, Aren't you guys going to be my bodyguards? Why are you leaving? Could it be that you're not here to be bodyguards? Lin Yi looked at the short expert and said coldly, Of course, we're here to be bodyguards. The short expert was shocked and quickly said, he was afraid that Lin Yi would kill him. He quickly bit on the point of being a bodyguard. Since you're here to be bodyguards, then that's good. You guys hide first. Wait for my summons to protect me. Lin Yi instructed them. Yes. The short expert nodded helplessly. He pulled Right Pangao and hid behind a huge rock not far away. However, he didn't dare to run away. He was afraid that this was a trap set by Lin Yi. If they ran away, Lin Yi would quickly kill them. Grandfather, why did you call him Mr. Lin? Who is he? After hiding behind the huge rock, Right Pangao asked suspiciously. Who is he? How did your grandfather get injured? How did your grandfather Gao die? That's who he is. The short expert glared at his grandson and said fiercely, Today I almost died because of you. This brat is very cruel and ruthless. He's simply a violent maniac. Last time when your grandfather Gao and I were robbers, he didn't say a word and injured us. Today he might have been in a good mood after taking a picture of pure topaz. That's why he let us go. Ah, it's him. Right Pan Gao's face turned ashen. He broke out in a cold sweat. So it was this evil star. He was fearlessly acting tough in front of him and courting death. His life was really hanging by a thread. All right, don't talk anymore. It seems like someone is really coming. The short expert was slightly surprised. He was a Heaven Stage expert, but Lin Yi was one step ahead of him. What kind of expert was Lin Yi? In fact, he was thinking too much. Previously, he was frightened by Lin Yi and didn't carefully investigate the surrounding situation. Lin Yi had already expected that other than the Hidden Yu family members, the Heaven Stage vice president would also come. Naturally, he was more careful than the short expert. The Heaven Stage vice president brought the skinny stick to Lin Yi's side. Only then did he realize that Lin Yi was just standing there, calm and unruffled in the midst of the chaos. Chapter 2511. The School Bell's Bodyguard Free Reading _ Chapter 2511. Come and be a bodyguard. Update complete. Chapter 2505. This situation made him slightly startled. What was Lin Yi doing? Why didn't the hidden house of you come looking for him? That's not right. I specifically ordered the disciples of the law enforcement hall to inadvertently give them a hint when they were looking for Lin Yi. That way, they would be able to find Lin Yi smoothly. But where was this person? Hello, Vice President. Is this skinny man your subordinate? Lin Yi was a little surprised after seeing the skinny man. He did expect the Vice President to come back to avenge the two gatekeepers, but he didn't expect it to be because of this skinny man. No wonder. Lin Yi finally understood after seeing the skinny man. So the two gatekeepers were actually standing up for the skinny man. It was just that they weren't strong enough. Lin Yi found it strange at first. The two gatekeepers must have taken the wrong medicine. He was an Earth-class peak mid-stage master. Of all people, the gatekeepers could have looked for trouble, but they just had to look for him. They must have eaten their fill. Since you've seen me here, there's no need for me to hide anymore. That's right, he's my disciple. You stole his blue crystal and crippled two of my disciples. How are you going to settle this debt? The vice leader looked at Lin Yi coldly as if he was looking at a dead man. How? Do I still need to settle this? Lin Yi smiled faintly. You, scrawny disciple, bullied people first, and I was just helping them out. The two disciples after you, on the other hand, were crippled because they weren't strong enough. Who can you blame? Oh, what you said is correct. Then can I interpret it as saying that if I kill you now, who can you blame for your lack of strength? The vice leader was clearly twisting words and forcing logic, but his words sounded extremely natural. Of course, you can understand it that way, Lin Yi said lightly. But do you think I'm waiting here to die? Then you. The vice president was slightly shocked. To be honest, he was also quite surprised. Lin Yi was inexplicably standing here without hiding. What was the reason? Moreover, where were the people of the Hidden Right family? Bodyguards come out and work. Someone's bullying the person you're protecting. Lin Yi turned his head to look at the short expert and the boulder to his right. A cough, cough. The short expert had no choice but to bring his right arm out. His expression was extremely ugly, but there was nothing he could do. He was in a dilemma. He had no choice but to come out, but he didn't want to face the vice leader of the Heaven rank after coming out. Third brother of the right, why are you here? The vice president of Heaven Stage looked at the two Hidden Yu family members who came out from behind the boulder in shock. He was very surprised. How did these two people become Lin Yi's bodyguards? That's right, we're this gentleman's bodyguards. The short expert said helplessly, We're here to protect this gentleman's safety, Mr. Vice President. What can I do for you? The short expert's words were very clear. He was currently being forced into a corner. If the short expert wanted to cause trouble for Lin Yi, then he would have no choice. I'm also in a difficult position here. The vice president of Heaven Stage frowned. He really couldn't figure out the truth of the matter. He could only say, "Third brother of the right, what do you mean? Did you get your pure topaz?" "Pure topaz? We don't want it. We're here to protect this gentleman's pure topaz from being stolen by others," the short expert said. "You." The vice president of Heaven Stage found that things seemed to be wrong. Although he was an expert at the peak of the early stage of Heaven Stage, and third brother of the right was an expert at the early stage of Heaven Stage, there was only a slight difference in strength between the two. It was unrealistic to say that the vice president of Heaven Stage could completely suppress third brother of the right. He didn't have that ability, let alone easily kill him. If the two really fought, it would be easy to judge who would win and who would lose. The final winner would definitely be the vice president of Heaven Stage, but he would also have to put in a lot of effort. He might even get injured, which was not what he wanted to see. "I'm sorry," the short expert said helplessly. "Grandpa, why don't we join forces with the vice president? Can't we beat that kid?" Third brother of the right was somewhat unwilling. He suddenly said, first, he wanted to remind his grandpa that there were two Heaven Stage experts here, so there was no need to be afraid of Lin Yi. Second, he wanted to remind the vice president of Heaven Stage that he was forced to do this. He also wanted the vice president of Heaven Stage to persuade his grandpa. Sure enough, the vice guild master's eyes lit up. He finally understood why House you changed sides at the last minute. It turned out that they couldn't beat Lin Yi. But a Sky-class early-stage master couldn't even be a match for an Earth-class mid-stage peak master? Was this for real? Wasn't this world too crazy? The short expert's expression was slightly sluggish. It wasn't that he didn't think of joining forces with the vice president of Heaven Stage, but the risk was too big. What if they still couldn't beat Lin Yi? He wasn't High Tripod Right. No matter what, High Tripod Right had never experienced the events of that day. However, the short expert had truly suffered a palm strike, and he knew very well how powerful that palm strike was. Not to mention much. Just 2 strikes from it would have killed him without a doubt. Therefore, if Lin Yi used the same trick again and slapped him and the vice president of Heaven Stage, then he and the vice president of Heaven Stage would both be crippled. He didn't think that the vice president of Heaven Stage, who was just a bit stronger than him, would be able to survive. That wasn't realistic. Even if the vice president of Heaven Stage wasn't injured as badly as he was, he definitely wouldn't be able to fight. At that time, wouldn't it be as easy for Lin Yi to kill third brother of the right clan and Skinny Stick? After killing these 2, he would give them another slap each, and all 4 of them would die here. Thinking of this situation, the short expert couldn't help but feel his heart palpitate. He quickly dispelled this idea and suddenly turned around. He swung his arm and slapped third brother of the right clan's face again. "You prodigal brat. What nonsense are you talking about? That hero is so powerful. How can we 2 mere Heaven Stage experts work together to defeat him? What do you know, you little bastard? The last time I was with your grandpa Gao, he was an Earth-class late-phase peak, and I was an Earth-class early phase. He was killed in 1 slap, and I was crippled. I had to eat so many pills to recover. Have you forgotten?" The short expert's words were actually meant for the vice president of Heaven Stage to hear. That is, I was crippled by Lin Yi in 1 slap, and he only needed 1 slap to kill you. Although I know that I was pushed out by him to start a feud with you, I had no choice but to bite the bullet. So don't blame me. This wasn't my intention. Chapter 2506. If Lin Yi wanted to kill you, he would have already done it himself. Why would he need me? I'm being used as a tool. When we become enemies, the Hidden Right family and the Cultivator Trading Association will become enemies. He will be happy. But the shorty was thinking too much. Lin Yi didn't think that way at all. It was true that Lin Yi could cripple him with 1 palm, but that was under the condition of a surprise attack. If the short master had chi protection, then he would not be able to kill him. Moreover, Lin Yi could only send out 2 palms before using up all his physical chi. It was impossible to continuously activate the 7th style of the Raging Fire 8 trigrams palm. Therefore, Lin Yi did not have the confidence to deal with the vice president of Heaven Division. He could only deal with it and escape. It was just that Lin Yi did not want the vice president of Heaven Division to know that he was afraid. After all, he could not hide forever. He had to intimidate the vice president of Heaven Division and make him afraid. Lin Yi still had to participate in the market and trade fairs in the future. He could not afford to have too much hatred with the Cultivator Trading Association. If the vice president of Heaven Division was afraid and let it go, that would be the best result. The words of the short master were like thunder in the ears of the vice president of Heaven Division. It was so shocking that he could not believe it was true. Could it be that Lin Yi, a peak Earth class master, really had the ability to beat the 3rd brother of the right and himself? However, the vice president of Heaven Division knew that the 3rd brother of the right would not lie. After all, the 3rd brother of the right was a dignified Heaven Division master. How could he tell such a lie? That was a joke with his own reputation. A dignified Heaven Division master was afraid of a peak Earth class master? If this was spread out, it would be a big joke. If it was not true and he was forced to do so, the 3rd brother of the right would never say it. With that in mind, the vice president couldn't help but re-evaluate Lin Yi. Thinking back to how easily Lin Yi had crippled 2 of his disciples and how he was able to fight someone of a higher level than him, the vice president finally realized that his thinking was too simple. This Earth class mid-phase peak in front of him was a different kind of Earth class mid-phase peak. However, he still had some doubts in his heart. If Lin Yi was really so powerful, it would be better for him and 3rd brother of the right to kill him directly. Why did he adopt this kind of tactic? Make the hidden Yu family his enemy? Since the whole story had already been revealed, how could they still be enemies? After taking a deep breath and doing his best to calm himself down, the vice leader raised his head and looked at Lin Yi. How should I address you? I have to admit that I've underestimated your strength. My surname is Ling, Lin Yi said lightly. Mr. Ling, do you really have the strength to annihilate us? The vice guild leader hesitated for a moment. He asked straightforwardly, He, why don't I use you as an experiment? Stand here and let me hit you. You can personally experience it and see if I have the ability to destroy you fellows. Lin Yi said with a chuckle. Haha, Mr. Ling must be joking. How could the vice president of Heaven rank agree to this suggestion? If he hadn't heard 3rd brother of the right's words, and if Lin Yi hadn't crippled 2 of his disciples before, he might have really agreed to this proposal. However, he didn't dare to try it now, even if he was beaten to death. Even if he didn't believe it, 3rd brother of the right was not a fool. Lin Yi didn't have that kind of strength. Could he surrender? Even when his grandson, Yu Pangao, proposed to join forces with him to deal with Lin Yi, he was flatly rejected by 3rd brother of the right. He even slapped 3rd brother of the right's grandson. This seemed unbelievable, but after thinking about it carefully, there was a truth in it. Lin Yi was really not simple. I'm not joking, Lin Yi said lightly. Well, Mr. Ling, since we've already made the grievances between us clear, then I'll be straightforward with you. I want to ask you, why don't you do it yourself, but let 3rd brother of the right do it? Do you really want the hidden right family to become enemies with us? The vice president of Heaven rank asked the doubt in his heart. He always felt that something was wrong. Of course not. Lin Yi shook his head. I don't want to do it myself because I can't control my strength well. Once I make a move, you'll be crippled even if you don't die. I let 3rd brother of the right do it because I want to resolve the conflict between us smoothly. Resolve it smoothly? Don't you want to do it? The vice president of Heaven rank was stunned and asked, You're the vice president of the Cultivator Trading Association. You're different from the two small characters who guarded the door before. If I kill you, regardless of whether I have a reason or not, the Cultivator Trading Association will be slapped in the face. Won't your president avenge you? Lin Yi asked in reply. Although I'm powerful and can fight enemies of a higher level, if the Cultivator Trading Association gets a few higher-level heaven rank masters, then I'm definitely no match for them. That's true. The vice president of heaven rank nodded and agreed with Lin Yi's words. Lin Yi was right. He was the vice president. His identity and status were completely different from the previous two gatekeeping disciples. If the gatekeeping disciples died, then so be it. Other than him, the master, no one would avenge them. However, if he, the vice president, died, then it would be unusual. Even the other vice president who had conflicts with him in the past would come forward to avenge him. In the past, those were just personal grievances. Now, they had to work together to protect the reputation of the Cultivator Trading Association. Moreover, the most important thing is that I still have to deal with you in the future. If there's a feud, it won't be good for me, said Lin Yi. When the vice president of heaven rank thought of Lin Yi's auction of the elixir, his heart moved slightly. He believed Lin Yi's words. However, after all, he did not personally experience Lin Yi's power like third brother of the right. So he still asked, "How can you prove that you have the ability to kill us?" As long as you have the ability to prove that your strength is equivalent to mine, I won't pursue the previous matter. I will resolve the grievances with you and become friends. You should understand that in the world of cultivators, the strong are respected. If you have the strength, then I will talk to you as an equal. Then, how do you want me to prove it? Lin Yi kicked the question back to the vice president of heaven rank. The vice president of heaven rank frowned. He was also thinking about how Lin Yi would prove this point. Fighting against an enemy of a higher level was not something that could be seen just by using the mantra. No matter how Lin Yi displayed his strength, he would still be at the peak of mid-earth class. While the vice president of heaven rank was thinking, the skinny man beside him was anxious. From what his master said, it seemed like he wanted to take the initiative to ask for peace. That wouldn't do. Wouldn't his brothers have died in vain? Chapter 2507. Thus, the skinny man hurriedly shouted, "Master, don't listen to this brat's bullshit. No matter how powerful he is, he can't beat a heaven stage master. How could there be a precedent of an earth stage master beating a heaven stage master? It's unheard of. I think he must have promised the Hidden You family some benefits so that the Hidden You family would help him lie." These words made the vice president of heaven stage even more suspicious. However, before he could speak, the skinny man's words stopped abruptly and was replaced by a scream. "Frenzy 8 trigrams, palm, 7th form," Lin Yi said to Lin Yi as he struck the skinny man with his palm. This person would always be a scourge if he didn't get rid of him. Even if the vice president of heaven stage resolved today's matter, this guy would still bewitch the vice president of heaven stage or other people to deal with Lin Yi in the future. Therefore, this person must not be left alive. Boom! A large hole appeared in the skinny man's chest. Lin Yi's palm had pierced through his chest. His body fell heavily on the ground and died instantly. The vice president of heaven stage, was shocked. He didn't expect Lin Yi to suddenly attack. However, just as he said the word "you," he was shocked by the aura of Lin Yi's palm. His eyes widened and he couldn't speak. "Didn't you want me to prove it?" "I've already proven it," Lin Yi said lightly, as if killing the skinny man was just to prove his strength. The 13th style of the heaven rank martial technique. The vice president of the heaven rank martial technique sucked in a breath of cold air after a long while. He exclaimed, "Not bad. You do have the strength to fight with me. Furthermore, if this palm hit me, I'm afraid that I would suffer quite a bit of injury. I believe that you are indeed qualified to speak with me on equal terms. Pan Gao was also dumbfounded. He also felt the power of Lin Yi's martial technique. He was so scared that his face turned ashen. He had tried to sow discord just now, but now he was regretting it. If he knew that Lin Yi was so powerful, why was he so talkative? But Lin Yi wasn't angry at him. On the contrary, he felt that this guy's big mouth had its benefits. If it weren't for him, things wouldn't have ended so easily. Lin Yi also wanted to reveal what he had said to the vice leader of the heaven rank, but there was no need for Lin Yi to waste his breath. On the other hand, the short expert, third brother of the right, was smiling bitterly as he looked at the vice president of heaven rank. He spread his hands and said, "Vice President, now you know my difficulties, right? He can indeed easily cripple me. The power of that palm is equivalent to a peak early stage heaven rank powerhouse. I have no choice but to do this. I understand." The vice president of heaven rank nodded and said, "Mr. Ling, I apologize for offending you in the past. It's my fault for not disciplining him properly, but I will stand up for him. Don't take it to heart. After all, the cultivation world is cruel. I understand. If I didn't have the strength, I wouldn't have been able to do so. I'm afraid I'm a corpse now. I won't allow third old you to compromise here." Lin Yi smiled and said faintly, "It's good that you understand." The vice president also smiled. "It's easy to talk to smart people. I recognize you as a customer. This is my contact information. If there's anything in the future, you can contact me directly." As he said that, the vice president took out a business card made of pure gold. He threw it at Lin Yi. This kind of business card could not be owned by people of the same level of strength. The vice president giving it to Lin Yi was also an acknowledgement of Lin Yi. Of course, this action of throwing the business card was also a test and punishment for Lin Yi. The vice president used all his strength. Even if a heaven rank powerhouse took his business card head on, it would be impossible for him to escape unscathed. It was inevitable that his hand would be injured. He would not be able to move for at least a month. He wanted to see if Lin Yi could take it head on. If Lin Yi did not dare to take it head on, it meant that Lin Yi's strength was still not enough. Even if he did not make trouble at the moment, he would value Lin Yi a little less. If Lin Yi took it head on, he would naturally resolve today's grudge. However, Lin Yi's hand would definitely be crippled for a month. It could be considered a punishment for Lin Yi, who asked him to kill his 3 disciples. Pa! Lin Yi reached out and took the business card thrown by the vice president of heaven rank. However, the strength of the business card hit Lin Yi's palm, breaking all the bones in Lin Yi's palm and damaging his tendons to a certain extent. Lin Yi had long expected this situation, but in order not to let the vice president of heaven rank see him clearly, he still chose to take it head-on instead of dodging. However, the vice president of heaven rank was wrong about Lin Yi. After Lin Yi caught the business card, he quickly circulated the 2nd level of the art of dragon mastery to quickly heal himself. Although the injury on his palm was serious, the area was very small. Compared to the injury Lin Yi suffered in the fight, it was insignificant. Therefore, Lin Yi's palm quickly recovered to its original state. Lin Yi raised his hand and played with the business card in his hand. His palm and fingers were extremely flexible, showing no signs of injury at all. "Oh, this business card is very valuable. It is made of pure gold. It seems that the vice president is really giving me face. I will definitely keep this business card well." Lin Yi smiled and stuffed the business card into his pocket. As for his hand, it seemed that he was trying to adjust the position of the business card in his pocket. This situation made the vice president of heaven rank dumbfounded. He was fine. Lin Yi's hand was not injured at all. How was this possible? Even a peak early heaven class expert with the same strength as him couldn't protect their body with qi, right? Even if a peak early heaven class expert used chi to protect their body, they would more or less be affected. Even if the bones in the palm weren't completely broken, they would still be injured and unable to move freely, right? But Lin Yi seemed to be completely fine. Mr. Ling is indeed not an ordinary peak mid-earth class expert. The vice president of Heaven Rank sighed and said, I wonder which sect Mr. Ling is from? The strength of your sect's practitioners can't be measured by ordinary levels. Although Mr. Ling is currently peak mid-earth class, in reality, whether it is the power of your martial arts or the defensive ability of your chi protection, they all exceed the strength of a peak early heaven class expert. This humble one admires you greatly. The vice president of Heaven Rank asked himself that even his defensive ability was not as strong as Lin Yi's, and Lin Yi's martial arts power was stronger than his. Therefore, he directly addressed himself as this humble one, and put Lin Yi in the position of a senior. Although Lin Yi's level was low, his strength was there. He didn't think that there was anything wrong with this. Yes, Senior Ling's strength is quite amazing. The third elder of the right also echoed. Although he didn't know why Lin Yi chose the Ling surname, he wouldn't expose him like a fool at this time. He didn't want to die yet. Chapter 2508. Since everything is clear and the grievances are resolved, I will leave. Senior Ling, take care. The vice president of Heaven Division confirmed that Lin Yi was more powerful than him, so his tone became respectful. It couldn't be helped. The cultivation world was a very realistic place. Okay, vice president, take care. I won't send you off. Lin Yi nodded. See you. The vice president of Heaven Division picked up the skinny body and left quickly. He disappeared from everyone's sight in an instant. Lin Yi also turned his head and looked at Third Elder of the Right and Pangao of the Right. Will you two continue to be my bodyguards? Asked Lin Yi. This Senior Lin has divine protection. Naturally, you don't need small characters like us to protect you. Third Elder of the Right said awkwardly. He had changed the way he addressed Lin Yi from Mr. Lin to Senior Lin, especially after seeing the power of Lin Yi's vital energy protection. He knew that he couldn't do anything to Lin Yi. Oh, what are you holding in your hand? Lin Yi pointed to the big suitcase in Pangao's hand and asked. This is money. It's the money from selling the elixir at the auction. Third Elder of the Right didn't dare to hide and told the truth. Oh, since you two don't protect me, shouldn't you compensate me for my loss? Give me the money. Although it's not much. I'm too lazy to beat you up, said Lin Yi. This is to be handed over to the Hidden You family. Third Elder of the Right said with a bitter face. If I give it to you, it'll be hard to explain when I go back. Oh, then you don't have to hand over the pure topaz to the Yu family? If I take away the pure topaz, how are you going to explain when you go back? Asked Lin Yi. I said that Senior Lin took it away. We can't do anything, said Third Elder of the Right. That's it. Just say that I took the money away, said Lin Yi. Ah, is that so? The Third Elder of the Right was stunned. However, he thought that it was a good reason. Since the pure topaz had been taken away, the money from selling the elixirs would not be a problem. Why, can't I? Lin Yi looked at the Third Right coldly. Yes, of course. You Pangao, give all the money to Senior Lin. The Third Elder of the Right was shocked. He quickly agreed. All right. Yu Pangao did not dare to disobey the third brother of the Right. He carefully handed the box to Lin Yi and said in a trembling voice, Senior Lin, please accept it. Oh, okay, then you can go. Lin Yi took the suitcase and waved his hand impatiently. All right, then we'll be leaving first. Senior Lin, take care. The Third Elder of the Right breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that he had escaped a disaster. He hurriedly pulled Yu Pangao's hand and ran down the mountain. Lin Yi looked at the back of the Third Elder of the Right as he left. He secretly breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. It would be a lie to say that Lin Yi was not nervous. Although Lin Yi had the ability to cripple the third elder of the right, it had to be based on the unexpected situation. The current situation was that Lin Yi could not completely succeed in a sneak attack. The third elder of the right was good, and the vice president of the heaven stage was on guard. If they really fought, Lin Yi would definitely be exposed. However, a few words and killing a skinny man had achieved a deterrent effect. The third elder of the right and the vice president of the heaven stage did not dare to act rashly. Instead, it allowed Lin Yi to easily resolve the crisis in front of him. After standing in place for a while, he did not hear any more movements. Lin Yi moved, but Lin Yi did not walk in the direction of the mountain. Instead, he continued to walk up the mountain. Lin Yi was going to make a detour before going down the mountain. It was to prevent anyone from waiting for him at the foot of the mountain. However, after walking for a while, Lin Yi was stunned by the scene in front of him. He saw that all kinds of rare herbs were planted all over the mountains and plains. Although it could not be said to be at the level of heaven and earth treasure, they were all good materials for alchemy. At least, the materials for refining a lot of second-grade elixir could be found here. This discovery surprised and delighted Lin Yi. If he brought some back for Han Jingjing to refine elixir, wouldn't it be a good solution to the problem of ingredients for alchemy? However, very quickly, Lin Yi calmed down again. These herbs were good stuff. It was impossible for them to grow naturally on this mountain. Moreover, this was the place where the Cultivator Trading Association held the market. Then, the herbs that were planted on this mountain most likely belonged to the Cultivator Trading Association. Sure enough, Lin Yi did not stay here for more than a few minutes before two people ran towards him. They shouted as they ran, "Who are you?" Lin Yi took a look. It was actually two Earth-class late-stage peak cultivators. Moreover, the clothes they were wearing were exactly the same as the disciples of the Cultivator Trading Association's Law Enforcement Hall. From this characteristic, it could confirm Lin Yi's previous guess. This was really the Cultivator Trading Association's territory. "You guys are from the Cultivator Trading Association." To confirm his guess, Lin Yi still asked, "That's right, but don't try to get close to us. This is the Cultivator Trading Association's restricted area. Only the vice chairman and elders of the association can enter." One of the disciples looked at Lin Yi cautiously. "Who are you? Trespassing is a crime punishable by death. If you don't explain yourself, we can only bring you down the mountain to see the vice chairman." "Oh, I'm good friends with your vice chairman." Lin Yi smiled. "As for trespassing, it's not really trespassing. I can only say that it was a mistake." "Mistake?" "This place is so remote, and the road is hard to walk. It's a completely different direction from the market. Who are you trying to fool by saying that?" The disciple clearly did not believe him. "As for knowing the vice chairman, we've heard that a lot. You don't believe me? I still have his business card." Lin Yi did not want to clash with these two disciples. After all, the two guards were deliberately making things difficult for him, and these two were just abiding by their duties. Lin Yi himself had entered their herb garden by mistake. "Business card?" The disciple saw Lin Yi's hand reach into his pocket, but did not stop him. They were Earth-class late-phase peak, so naturally they were not afraid of Lin Yi taking out a weapon. If Lin Yi was stronger than them, then he could kill them without a weapon. If he was weaker, then weapons would be useless. Lin Yi took out the name card made of pure gold and showed it in front of the two disciples of the law enforcement hall. It really is the vice chairman's business card, and it's a top-grade pure gold business card." These two law enforcement hall disciples were obviously knowledgeable people. They also knew that if it wasn't an important guest, the vice president wouldn't give out this kind of business card. Generally, it was good enough to give out a platinum-plated business card. Most of them were ordinary steel business cards. Chapter 2509. Happy Cooperation. Wait a minute, I'll contact the Vice President. Another law enforcement hall disciple said as he took out the walkie-talkie and pressed a few numbers on it. When it was connected, he said, "Hello, Vice President. I'm Lang Jinxiang, the team leader of the law enforcement hall in the herb garden. Here is a guest who accidentally trespassed. He has your gold business card in his hand. Do you want to let him go or escort him to your place?" What? Gold business card? The vice president's heart suddenly tightened after hearing this. He immediately thought of Lin Yi on the mountain and quickly said, Don't annoy him. Let him go on his own. Remember, you must be respectful." Yes, the team leader of the law enforcement hall quickly responded. "Give me the walkie-talkie. I want to talk to the vice president," Lin Yi suddenly said to the team leader. "This." The team leader hesitated for a moment. "Give it to him," the vice president ordered directly. "Okay." The team leader quickly gave the walkie-talkie to Lin Yi. "Mr. Ling, is that you? Haha, how did you break into our herb garden?" The vice president's tone was very good, without the slightest hint of blame. "But you also know that those two disciples were just following orders. Don't lower yourself to their level. Our herb garden is indeed a restricted area." "Well, I know. Vice President, you don't have to be nervous. I'm not a person who kills people casually," Lin Yi said with a wry smile. Lin Yi's words made the two disciples of the law enforcement hall jump in fright. No way. The vice president actually spoke to Lin Yi in such a respectful tone? Moreover, it seemed that Mr. Ling might kill them? Thinking of this, the two law enforcement hall disciples suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. "Haha, I'm just saying." "Why, Mr. Ling, what's the matter?" The vice president asked. "Vice President, may I ask if the herbs planted on the mountain are for sale?" Lin Yi asked. "Oh, of course, these herbs are for sale. However, they weren't sold through our markets channels. Instead, they were sold through a higher-level trade fair." The vice president of Heaven Stage said, "Why, Mr. Ling is interested." "Oh, that's right, Mr. Ling provided some pills before." "That's right. I was wondering if I could buy some materials?" Lin Yi asked. "This is not within my jurisdiction. I am only responsible for the safety of the herb garden. As for the sale of the medicine, the other vice president is in charge of it." The vice president of Heaven Stage said, "Well, Mr. Ling, I'll help you ask. Call me in about a month and I'll give you the news. Anyway, it will take some time for this batch of medicinal materials to mature, so there's no hurry for the time being." "All right. Thank you very much." Lin Yi said, "I can guarantee that the pills I refine will be given priority to the vice president's market square. That's naturally the best." The vice president of Heaven Stage said with a smile, "Then I wish us a happy cooperation." In fact, he helped Lin Yi because Lin Yi could provide pills to the cultivator market. One had to know that pills were one of the biggest sources of profit for the cultivator market. The profits from the invitation were directly collected by the Cultivator Trading Association and were not considered as the performance of the vice president of Heaven Stage. The profits earned from the auction were the performance of the vice president of Heaven Stage. That was why he was willing to lower his status and be on good terms with Lin Yi. Otherwise, just because Lin Yi was stronger than him didn't mean that he would be so friendly. For a long time, the pills in the cultivator market were provided by the Hidden Yu family, but the Heaven Stage cultivator was not satisfied with this because the Hidden Yu family's quantity was too little. There were only about 20 to 30 pills each time. Most of them were common pills like Small Huan Pill, Meridian Unblocking Pill, Qi Replenishing Pill, Foundation Establishment Pill, Body Tempering Pill, and so on. There were very few pills for cultivation like the Small Qi Gathering Pill. Lin Yi provided 5 small Qi Gathering Pills at once, which surprised the vice president of Heaven Stage. Happy cooperation. I hope the vice president of Heaven Stage can help. Lin Yi said quickly. Well, I will try my best to facilitate it. The vice president of Heaven Stage nodded and said, However, you have to give me a guarantee first. Every 3 years, can you provide me with the same amount of elixirs as this time? Every 3 years? Lin Yi was slightly stunned. Yes, the Hidden You family will provide this amount of pills every 3 years, said the vice president of Heaven Stage. Lin Yi was stunned. It turned out that the Hidden You family's pills weren't very productive. They only had this amount every 3 years. But with Lin Yi and Han Jingjing, as long as they had the materials, they could basically refine these pills in a few days. Of course, Lin Yi definitely couldn't say these words. If he said it, he would be a monster. It might be a disaster by then. The practitioner's market, it's only held once every 3 years. Lin Yi asked, confused. Of course not. When I said every 3 years, I meant second-grade elixir pills. But first-grade elixir pills, under normal circumstances, the Hidden You family will provide sufficient supply. So I don't recommend Mr. Ling to do business in this area anymore, because the market is basically saturated. The vice president of Heaven Stage said truthfully, although you sold all the spirit-gathering pills in your hands this time, it was also because the spirit-gathering pills are more popular for cultivation pills. As for the other first-grade pills, they're not so popular and have high profits. So that's how it is. Lin Yi nodded. In fact, he didn't even think about letting Han Jingjing refine first-grade pills. Anyway, it would take a lot of effort. Of course, refining second-grade pills was more promising and valuable. I can guarantee it. Okay, since Mr. Ling's words are a guarantee, then I will do my best. The vice president of Heaven Stage agreed readily. Okay, I will go down the mountain first. I will leave everything here to the vice president. After Lin Yi finished speaking, he returned the walkie-talkie to the team leader of the law enforcement hall. The team leader of the law enforcement hall took the walkie-talkie with a shocked expression and said, Senior Ling, please take care. Lin Yi nodded and walked down the mountain with a big suitcase. This time, the cultivator market could be said to have a fruitful harvest. Lin Yi got a lot of things he needed, and he also found a supply of materials for alchemy. This time, it was really not a wasted trip. After going down the mountain, Lin Yi didn't meet anyone along the way. The people of the Hidden You family had probably left long ago. Lin Yi also reached an agreement with the vice president of Heaven Stage. As long as the vice president of Heaven Stage was not stupid, the relationship between the two would deepen as the cooperation deepened. It was impossible for them to become enemies again, unless the vice president of Heaven Stage couldn't live with money and his own performance. Chapter 2516_School. Bells, Bodyguard, Free Reading, _ Chapter 2516. Happy cooperation completed. Chapter 2510. Let's meet again. There were quite a lot of people in the parking lot at the foot of the mountain. After participating in the auction, the cultivators didn't leave immediately but left one after another. Some returned to their rooms to pack up their things, and some continued to set up their stalls until the market was completely closed tonight. Han Xiaopa and Yu Xiaoka were overjoyed when they saw Lin Yi coming over with a big suitcase. It seemed that Lin Yi was fine. Previously, they saw third brother of the right bringing Yu Panggao down the mountain in a hurry, but Lin Yi didn't go down the mountain. They were very nervous. They were afraid that something would happen to Lin Yi. After all, nothing happened to the Hidden You family, and they left in a hurry, but Lin Yi didn't go down the mountain. They couldn't help but think in a bad direction. However, even though they thought about it, they didn't dare to go up the mountain. What if Lin Yi's opponent wasn't the Hidden You family, but the vice president of Heaven Stage from the previous auction? If they went up the mountain to find Lin Yi, wouldn't it be equivalent to causing trouble for Lin Yi? Therefore, the only thing they could do was to wait and they finally waited for Lin Yi. "Boss!" Han Xiaopa opened the car door and waved at Lin Yi in surprise. "Xiaopa, are you anxious?" Lin Yi smiled. "I'm fine. It's just that we saw the Hidden You family coming down the mountain. Boss didn't come down, so we were a little worried." Han Xiaopa said truthfully, "Did you meet the vice president of Heaven Stage again?" "You guessed right." Lin Yi nodded. "I did meet the vice president. The two people from the Yu family were just a piece of cake. They didn't dare to make a move. Not only did they not make a move, but they also gave me a suitcase of money." "Ah." Han Xiaopa's eyes widened. He pointed at the suitcase in Lin Yi's hand in disbelief. "This is money. The Hidden You family gave it to you?" "Yes, they did give it to me," said Lin Yi. "All right, the boss is awesome. What about the vice president? Are you all right?" Han Xiaopa had seen many of Lin Yi's amazing deeds, so his heart could still take it. "That vice president is not bad. He gave me a pure gold name card. Tell me if we can continue working together in the future." As Lin Yi spoke, he took out a pure gold business card. "Uff." Han Xiaopa coughed twice. He looked at the business card in Lin Yi's hand and exclaimed, "Even my grandfather doesn't have this kind of business card. He only has a platinum-plated business card. Boss actually has a gold-plated business card. Looks like I was worried for nothing." There was no need to worry. Although Lin Yi said it casually, no one knew how dangerous it was at that time. If it weren't for Lin Yi's smart move to push the third elder of the right out, things would not have gone so smoothly. However, there was no need to tell Han Xiaopa about this. After all, intelligence was not strength. Telling Han Xiaopa would only make him worry. "Then, boss, I won't bother you anymore. I'll get in the car first." Han Xiaopa saw Yu Xiaoka standing at the side and looking at Lin Yi with a silly smile. He shook his head and quickly turned around to get in the car. From Han Xiaopa's point of view, Lin Yi's luck with women was too good. Wherever he went, beauties would come to him. However, Han Xiaopa was not envious. With his status, it was natural to choose 1 in a million to find a girlfriend. However, with his current status, he could not be as casual as Lin Yi. His marriage would probably be arranged by his family. When the time came, he would definitely marry a girl from Lin Yi's family or sect. "Xiaoka, this is for you." Lin Yi handed the box in his hand to Lin Yi. "And thank you." Yu Xiaoka looked at Lin Yi affectionately. It was easy to meet, but it was hard to part. Yu Xiaoka did not expect to meet Lin Yi in the market. However, since they met, it was inevitable that she would feel empty and sad when they parted. "How did you get here?" Lin Yi asked. "Xiao Ken and the driver from the orphanage drove me here." Yu Xiaoka pointed at a van not far away. It seemed to be the grocery van from the orphanage. "Then let's part here," Lin Yi said. "Then, will we have the chance to meet again in the future?" Yu Xiaoka actually knew. The two of them were going to part here, but she was still a little reluctant. "Haha, haven't you heard of the saying? If fate wills it, we will meet again." Originally, after we separated in the ancient tomb, after we parted in the ancient tomb, we should be far apart from each other, but we accidentally met many times. We will definitely meet again in the future. Lin Yi smiled. N. Xiaoka nodded her head forcefully. She said that she wouldn't be able to see him again, but now she was looking forward to meeting him again. She hoped that she and the male thief were fated to meet again, and they would be able to see each other more often. "All right, go back. This money is enough for you for a while. We can slow down the expansion of the orphanage," Lin Yi said. "Money. It's really not enough when it's time to use it. The orphanage is expanding, but there are a lot of hospitals all over the country that got the news. They're sending some abandoned babies with congenital diseases to my place. The cost of treating these abandoned babies is an astronomical figure." Yu Xiaoka sighed. "I can't bear to reject these children," Lin Yi sighed softly. This situation was unavoidable. The bigger Yu Xiaoka's orphanage was, the more responsibility she had. She had to take in more abandoned babies, especially those with congenital diseases. Normal orphanages really couldn't afford the high cost of treating them. I'll think of a way for you. Lin Yi said to Yu Xiaoka, don't force yourself too much. Don't do dangerous things like this in the future. If you get caught stealing an invitation, how are you going to deal with it? Plus, even if you come here, you don't have much of a chance. These people are all masters. It's too hard to steal from them. Lin Yi could tell that the people who had the invitation were either from hidden houses or sects, or they were solo practitioners who had reached Earth class. Normal houses and solo practitioners didn't even know about the existence of this market. Yu Xiaoka stealing from them was like taking chestnuts from a fire. And I understand. Yu Xiaoka was happy that the man cared about her. Actually, it was a coincidence that she got the invitation. A practitioner accidentally left his coat on the seat when he was eating in a restaurant. She picked it up along the way, so it wasn't too dangerous. But Lin Yi was right. Xiaoka only realized how vigilant the people here were after coming here. It was extremely difficult to steal something from here. Their money was all in suitcases, and even if Yu Xiaoka was a master thief, she wouldn't be able to steal the suitcases. That wouldn't be stealing, it would be robbery. Chapter 2517_school bells, bodyguard free reading answer. Chapter 2517, fated to meet again, has been updated. Chapter 2511. It looked like they got a lot of money this time, but in reality it was all Lin Yi's doing. Xiaoka had nothing to do with it. All right, I'm going now. You can go back too. Lin Yi patted Xiaoka's hair with a smile. N. Xiaoka nodded dumbly, her eyes soft as water. She gathered her courage and kissed him on the cheek once more. Even with the mask on, she could feel the deep affection from that kiss. After kissing Lin Yi, Xiaoka turned around and ran to her car, waving at Lin Yi as she got in the car. What surprised Lin Yi was that she was from the Fian sect after all. Dragging 2 suitcases behind her, she was still running as if she was flying. Xiaoka sis, male thief bro, is here too. Ken looked at Lin Yi not far away with a smile. What does a kid know? Xiaoka glared at Ken. Hee. All I know is that male thief bro gave us a lot of money. These 2 suitcases are filled with money, right? Ken had become a greedy ghost under Xiaoka's influence. It is money, but why can't I steal it? Xiaoka said, troubled. How did you steal such a big suitcase? I saw with my own eyes that male thief bro gave one to you. The other one is probably the same, right? Ken said. Ken, are you asking for a beating? Xiaoka raged. I won't give you a single cent when we get back. You won't have dinner tonight. No, Ken said helplessly. I'm praising male thief bro, okay? Oh, is that so? All right, I'll give you dinner then. Xiaoka smiled again. Xiao Ken was speechless. She thought to herself, women who are passionately in love are really stupid. Even the smart sister, Xiao Ku, has become like this. But luckily, Lin Yi bro was a strong man. With his help, the development of the orphanage was progressing by leaps and bounds, and Xiaoka sis really wasn't losing out by following him. Lin Yi sighed and got into Han Xiaopa's car. Boss, why did she call you a male thief? Is that your nickname? Xiaopa didn't understand the relationship between Lin Yi and Xiaoka. When they were in the car, he didn't dare to say much about Lin Yi. When Yu Xiaoka asked him anything, he only said that he was Lin Yi's follower. It's not really a nickname. It's an identity I used before. She doesn't know I'm Lin Yi, Lin Yi said. I see. Han Xiaopa nodded. He was not a gossipy person. He nodded in understanding and said, Boss, where are we going now? Let's go back. Lin Yi's purpose of coming here had been achieved, so he didn't want to stay any longer. Okay. Han Xiaopa nodded, started the car, and headed toward East Ocean City. What Lin Yi didn't know was that in Donghai Industry University, Pinliang had set up an arena in the school. He even wrote the slogan "Love War" on the arena. There was an explanation below. I will be Meng Yao's personal bodyguard. I hereby challenge all masters. I will stand in the arena and take a beating without fighting back. If anyone can knock me down within 10 minutes, I will give you 1,000 yuan in cash. If you can't knock me down, you will have to pay 1,000 yuan. Of course, you could only use your fists and legs, but you couldn't use any other methods. One had to admit that Pinliang's gimmick was very accurate. Knocking someone down and getting 1,000 yuan for free was the best thing in the world. This was exactly what Pinliang wanted. This way, he could establish the fact that he was invincible. Meng Yao and Yushu wouldn't be able to object. Pinliang could say that he was the strongest person in the world right now. He was the person who could protect Meng Yao the most. No one could knock him down no matter how hard they tried. If he wasn't qualified to be a bodyguard, then who was? Bodyguards didn't just need to be skilled. More importantly, they had to take a beating for their employer at a critical moment. This was an idea. It was an idea that Pinliang came up with after thinking for a whole night. He wasn't as stupid as before. Yushu wouldn't let him go, so he couldn't just sit there and wait. What if Yushu tricked him and extended the inspection period indefinitely? He couldn't wait that long. Lin Yi might have already carried Meng Yao to bed by then, and he wouldn't even have the chance. So he had to choose to attack. In the beginning, there were a lot of people who were greedy for the 1,000 yuan that Pinliang offered. From their perspective, if Pinliang didn't fight back, they could just knock him down with a few flying kicks. It wouldn't even take 10 minutes. And so, they all signed up to participate. But reality wasn't what they imagined. Pinliang was like a cockroach that couldn't be killed. The punches that landed on him didn't seem to do any damage to him at all. Although it wasn't like punching a rock, after a long time, their fists and feet would still hurt. Pinliang, on the other hand, was still standing there looking down on the crowd. Some students even kicked Pinliang's crotch, but the result was the same. Pinliang was fine, as if nothing had happened. His leg, on the other hand, was hurting from using too much force. In short, no one could knock Pinliang down within 10 minutes. They couldn't even make Pinliang look like he was in pain. And so, after these people helplessly handed over the 1,000 yuan, the number of people who went up the stage decreased. Although the conditions seemed to be favorable to them, everyone understood that if they didn't have a diamond in the rough, they wouldn't do it. If Zhong Pingliang dared to say something like this, he must be prepared and confident. Meng Yao frowned when she saw the news on the school's BBS forum. She was a little annoyed by Pinliang's sensationalism, but Pinliang had done it plenty of times in high school. Shu, why is Pinliang so annoying? Didn't you tell him to wait for the news? Meng Yao turned to Yushu. What's wrong with him? Yushu shook her head. Man, Liangzi seems to have gotten smarter. He knows that I might be messing with him, so he's trying to stall for time. Yushu saw through Pinliang's plan immediately. Then what do we do? Meng Yao asked. I don't have a choice. We can only wait for Shield Bro. Yushu shook her head helplessly. Aren't you omnipotent, Shu? Why can't you do it now? You're not omnipotent anymore. Plus, do you think Lin Yi can solve it? Isn't Pinliang invincible under Sky Class? Can Lin Yi take care of that golden cicada underwear? Meng Yao asked. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.